Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if banished Naruto returns with his wife. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Shikilove and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1 Prologue. Hokage's office 3 days after the fight at the vote. Tsunade sat at her desk looking at the blonde Gaki she saw as a little brother or son. She couldn't believe that she was being forced to do this. That she was being forced to crush the blonde's dream. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath to hold back her sorrow and prepare herself for what she was about to do. Naruto, there is something important I have to tell you, said Tsunade, never breaking eye contact from her fellow blonde. What is it, Granny? Asked Naruto curiously. Once again Tsunade took a breath, realizing she may never be called Granny again, and had to regain control of her emotions. Naruto, I wish I didn't have to do this. I have been ordered by the council to inform you that for using an A-rank assassination technique and severely injuring the last Uchiha, you are hereby banished from the Leaf Village. You have 2 days to leave or you will be executed. You are not to step foot within the Leaf Village or surrounding area until the end of your banishment. Your banishment is to last until further notice. I am so sorry, Gaki. I really did try, but I was outvoted. There was nothing I could do. As Tsunade was speaking, her voice was breaking, and never did she break eye contact with the blonde boy. She watched as his eyes dulled from their usual sapphire blue that could make oceans jealous to a dull gray. She watched as he paled and his mask cracked. She could do nothing but watch as the wonderful bright child fall into nothingness. She suddenly heard a whisper of a broken soul and heart. Why? A fair question spoken so softly you almost couldn't hear it. A voice that held so much yet was so very small. It was the voice of someone who's lost everything, and it broke her heart. But could she tell him why? In truth, she knew that she didn't have to, because he already knew. Yet she answered anyway, knowing he needed to hear it out loud. I could say it was because you apparently could have killed the Uchiha like they said, but you and I know it's not true. It's because of the Kyuubi. They felt the chakra when it was forced to heal you from the first Chidori. Some think the fox is breaking out. Others think it can take over your body, and then there's the people who think you're the fox. In the end, they just wanted rid of you, and this was the perfect excuse, said Tsunade, wanting nothing more to hold the boy in her arms and say it was going to be okay. But she knew it'd be a lie, and so would he. I guess I'm not taking the hat from you after all, said Naruto, breaking the silence that had built. However, the pain in his voice made her wish he hadn't. He reached up to his head and removed his headband and placed it on the desk. He then moved his hands to his neck and removed the necklace of the first Hokage that she'd given him. You keep it. You won it fair and square, it's yours. Keep it for luck, said Tsunade, knowing that she could never take it back from him. He smiled a small smile and replaced it back around his neck. He then walked around the desk and hugged her. This time she couldn't stop her tears. Goodbye, Granny Tsunade. With that, he broke the hug and left without another word, while Tsunade cried her heart out for the boy who just left her office. Naruto disappeared after that. He simply left the village without a word to anyone that very day. The Rookie 12 and their senseis, excluding Sakura and Sasuke, were devastated. But that was nothing compared to Iruka's reaction, who fell into a depression for several months. When Jiraiya returned and discovered what happened, it took over 3 squads of A and BU, Tsunade and Shizen, to stop Jiraiya from killing the council. Ever since Naruto left, no one has ever heard so much as a whisper to where the favorite whiskered blonde was. He had simply disappeared and remained so for several more years. Chapter 1 Years Gone By. It has been 7 years since the departure of one Uzumaki Naruto, and many things have changed. The first change occurred after Naruto left and Jiraiya's return. After being calmed down by Tsunade and Shizen, he tore into the council. He informed them that they were idiots who had no faith in the seal of their supposed hero, and that the only way the fox can get out is if Naruto himself lets it. Even if Naruto died, the Kyuubi couldn't escape. This caused many, whom only agreed to his banishment because they thought the seal was weakened, to feel ashamed. Jiraiya also informed them that a group of S-rank shinobi called the Akatsuki are after the tailed beasts, and they had just virtually given them the 9 tails. This piece of information caused a large disturbance among the council. Some wanted him back, either out of guilt or because they didn't want such a weapon to be in the hands of missing ninja. Others wanted him to stay gone, saying that this way the group wouldn't attack the village. What caused the most upset was the last bit of information Jiraiya gave. It was the final nail in the coffin. He told them Naruto's parentage. Naruto Uzumaki was the son of Kushina Uzumaki, the red-hot-blooded habanero, and Minato Namikaze, the yellow flash, and Yondaime Hokage. Jiraiya had never felt so much pleasure than watching the meltdown of the council. Another change was the Rookie 12. After hearing about Naruto's banishment and subsequent disappearance, they threw themselves into training. At first they were devastated and angry. Then they decided they wanted to be strong enough to bring him home one day. It wasn't just increased training that changed but also the dynamic of the Rookie 12. While everyone was distraught over the loss of Naruto, only Sasuke and Sakura weren't. This caused Ino to denounce Sasuke as her crush but also Sakura as her friend. However, despite the exclusion of Sasuke and Sakura, it brought the rest of the Rookie 12 closer than ever. Every week they would meet up and eat at Ichiraku Ramen in honor of Naruto. This was a great joy to Ayame and Tsuchi, whom were incredibly saddened about the loss of the blonde. It wasn't just the rookies that changed, so did the senseis. Kakashi understandably took it the worse. He was originally angry at both his students for using A-rank techniques. Then he discovered from Tsunade that Naruto had underpowered his Rasengan so it didn't endanger Sasuke, but Naruto actually took 2 fully powered Chidoris to the chest. His guilt only became worse when he discovered that Naruto was actually his sensei's son. He sought to absolve some of his guilt by training Sakura properly. However, to his disappointment, she was still nothing more than a fangirl. All the senseis started to train more regularly and harder in order to keep up with their students. Team 7 also went through a change. With Naruto gone, the team was taken off rotation until a replacement could be found. That replacement became Sai, who used to be a member of Root and Danzo's spies. Sakura, who had asked for training from Tsunade before Sasuke tried to deflect, was refused. Tsunade turned her down due to her fangirlish ways. Sasuke himself is as horrible and broody than ever. He was let off virtually scot-free. He was simply put on house arrest for 3 months. The biggest change was what happened to Danzo Shimura, the leader of Root. A year and a half after the banishment of Naruto, Jiraiya and Tsunade finally managed to get him executed and Root disbanded with the surprising help of Sai. As it turns out, the Rookie 12 managed to get Sai most of his emotions back, and with the help of Ino his memories as well. With his memory returned, he no longer wished to serve Danzo. So with the assistance of Jiraiya, the seal on his tongue was removed and he became Tsunade's spy. Now a full 7 years later, and everyone has lived up to their changes. Ino is now married to Sai and both are jounin. Niji and Tenten are engaged. Niji is a hunter in ANBU and Tenten is a jounin. Kiba is a jounin and ANBU recruit with Akamaru. Shino is an ANBU captain and is dating Hinata, who is an academy instructor. Shikamaru is head of the ANBU strategic division. Both Choji and Lee are jounin instructors. Sasuke was forced to marry Sakura in order to restart his clan. Sasuke is a jounin and Sakura is a medic at the hospital. Iruka got out of his depression and is engaged to Ayame. Kurenai and Asuma are married and have a son named Hiruzen after the third. Kakashi is surprisingly dating Anko. Guy opened his own dojo, which is ran by his civilian wife. Shizen married Ginma, and they are expecting their first child. Tsunade finally said yes to Jiraiya and they are currently dating. Now, though, our rookies and their senseis are preparing for a trip to another village. Their job is to find the Kashoku no Kage, Crimson Shadow, who is said to reside there, and ask him to join the Leaf. Everyone was standing at the gate. Kakashi let his lone eye gaze over the group. They had all come a long way, well, except 2. He couldn't help but sigh when he thought about those 2. He also couldn't feel anything about guilt when he thought about his third student. Despite Jiraiya's spy network and contacts, he couldn't find anything out about Naruto. As he finished that thought, everyone finally arrived. Okay. Now everyone's here. Our mission is to head to Tsukigakure, Hidden Moon Village, and find the Kashoku no Kage and ask him to join the Leaf Village. Also, Lady Tsunade stated that at this event Tsukigakure has a festival on. We will be arriving a day before the festival begins. If we find the Kashoku no Kage, we are to send his reply via messenger bird and stay until the end of the festival. Any questions? Stated Kakashi. Kiba was the first to ask the obvious. Did Lady Tsunade just basically give us a mission to enjoy a festival? He asked. Confusion clouded his voice. Yes. Kakashi I smiled. Hinata raised her hand shyly. Yes, Hinata? Asked Kakashi politely. Who exactly is the Kashoku no Kage? Hinata asked quietly. After all, academy teachers aren't exactly kept in the loop about bingo book entries. The Kashoku no Kage is an S-rank bingo book entry. He is not a missing ninja because he is apparently not affiliated to any village, answered Kakashi. Tenten was quick to voice her concern. Why exactly are we being sent, if he's an S-rank, and how is he an S-rank? Apparently, answered Asuma, he pissed off a bunch of the wrong people. His bounty on the black market is worth more than mine and Chirika combined, and we are former 12 Guardian Ninja. Everyone looked shocked except Kakashi, Guy, Asuma, Kurenai and Sasuke, who looked excited. As for why us, asked Lady Tsunade, said Kakashi. What are his skills, just in case we get into a confrontation? Asked Niji. Here's his bingo book entry, take a good look and memorize it, said Kakashi as he held up a small black book. Name, unknown. Alias, the Kashoku no Kage, Crimson Shadow. Age, unknown. Traits, blonde hair and wears an ANBU-styled mask. Always wears black trench coat and a single silver earring. Village, unaffiliated. Known affinities: wind, water, and lightning. Taijutsu: excellent uses and unknown style. Kenjutsu: excellent uses, edge blade style. Has a katana with a red and white handle with a black blade. The blade is known as Ion no Kizuato, eternal scar. Chakra level: Kage or higher. Rank S. Jounin: engage with caution. Chunin and below do not approach. Bounties: Odogekure: wanted dead or alive $800,000 Rio. Iwagakure: dead or alive $850,000 Rio. Kumogakure: dead or alive $680,000 Rio. The group looked stunned. They quickly composed themselves and took off. Little did they know they'd be meeting an old friend very soon. Chapter 2: Tsukigakure. A figure was hidden in a tree squatting on the balls of his feet. The figure, though crouched, could easily be considered tall. It was definitely the form of a male, and he had spiky blonde hair that reached the bottom of his shoulders. The man's eyes were a stunning sapphire blue that could easily outshine the very gem they were colored after. He also wore an ANBU mask, and on his right ear a dangly silver earring shined in the light. This figure was the Koshoku no Kage, Crimson Shadow. The man ran a hand through his sun-blonde hair and sighed. Damn. I'm running late. His voice slightly deep and smooth. Without another word or sound, the man disappeared from the tree branch. The group containing the Rookie 12 and their senseis were traveling through the trees. They had been traveling for almost a day and were about to stop and make camp. Kakashi-sensei, how long will it take to reach Tsukigakure? And could you tell us more about the village? Asked a curious Ino. Kakashi paused in his reading and decided to answer Ino's questions. Let's stop and make camp, then I'll tell you more. But the trip could take anywhere between 4 days to a week at the most. It depends on how fast we go, answered Kakashi, going back to his beloved orange book. After traveling quite a bit of distance, one of the other jounin spoke up, since this was a good camping spot. Kakashi, let's stop and make camp here. We can continue early tomorrow morning, stated Asuma, fully aware that Kakashi is the mission leader. Sounds good, Kakashi replied and stopped running. It didn't take long to set up camp, and before they knew it they were all sitting around the fire. They all knew now was the time to get their questions answered. Kakashi-sensei, can you please tell us more about Tsukigakure? Asked Tenten, who was leaning against Niji. I suppose I can. Tsukigakure is a village well known for their goods and scenery, but what it's famous for is the fact it's what we used to call a clan village. As you know, a ninja village is a village made up of several clans and other ninja. A clan village, however, is a village which technically doesn't have any ninja, but is full protected and ran by a single ninja clan. The ninja clan in Tsukigakure is the Osurabiki, Grim, clan. They are famous for assassinations, including hidden weapons, kenjutsu, tracking, blacksmithery, and being weapons experts. However, the one other thing they're famous for is their bloodline. Their bloodline is known as Akuma no Hano, devil flames. The Akuma no Hano can create any type of flame, meaning they can create flames that freeze into ice or dissolve whatever they touch like acid. Although there is now only one member remaining that can use this bloodline. The Osurabiki clan merged other smaller surrounding clans with their own, making the original Osurabiki clan the main family, stated Kakashi smoothly. Will they be okay with us being there? Asked Choji quietly. Yes, despite being very dangerous, they are usually peace lovers, and Lady Tsunade sent a letter yesterday to inform them that we are coming, informed Kakashi without his eyes leaving his book. Hinata poked her fingers together, which was an old habit that she never got rid of, and spoke. What exactly is the festival that will be at Tsukigakure? She asked in a soft, gentle voice. Kakashi smiled. The festival is called the Ai, Kazoku, Haiwa no Saiten, Love, Family and Peace Festival. It is used to celebrate the end of a war that occurred over 40 years ago and to remember what they fought for, love, family and peace, said Kakashi, finally taking his eyes off his book to look at the group. Awesome, how often is the festival held? Asked Kiba rather loudly. This time it was Kurenai who answered, once every 2 to 3 years, but they hold other festivals as well during this time, she informed calmly. The questioning continued for several hours. Everyone was buzzing with excitement. Asuma finally spoke up, realizing the time. Come on everyone, let's get some shut-eye. We have to leave early tomorrow. I'll take first watch. Later on. Our Rookie 12 and senseis are running through the trees. True to Asuma's words, they left early, at dawn actually. The senseis apparently decided the trip was going to be done in 4 days. They woke up at dawn and ran until dark, taking very few breaks in order to make it there faster, and the process continued for another 2 days. Then finally on the 4th day everyone noticed something. The forest is thinning out, said Tenten, surprised considering Konoha is surrounded by nothing but thick forest. Kakashi looks over to Niji and nods, causing Niji to activate his Byakugan and search the surrounding area. There's a path up ahead and it leads to a village gate, Niji informed stoically. Everyone subconsciously picked up their pace, excited to see the new village. "Troublesome must be Tsukigakure," said Shikamaru in a lazy drawl. They all stopped on the edge of the trees and started walking down the path. When they were close to the village, everyone was forced to stop because Kakashi, Asuma, and Kurenai stopped in front of them. "Now everyone, I shouldn't have to remind you, but be on your best behavior. You are ninja of Konoha and you are representing our village," said Kurenai. Asuma then stepped forward, lighting a smoke with his lighter. "Now I know you're all excited to see Tsukigakure, however, remember this is a mission and to keep your eyes peeled for our target. Got it?" He waited for everyone to nod their agreement before stepping back. Then Kakashi took his place. "Finally, I have one final thing to say to you before we head into the village. Because of the festival, there will be ninja and people from other villages. Do not start or cause any fights. We are guests in this village and they will throw you out or arrest you for breaking their rules," Kakashi said in a serious and borderline dark tone. "Also, don't forget to enjoy the festival and have fun." Kakashi returned to his normal cheerful tone. They headed up to the gate, and the rookies gasped in awe of what lay before them. Chapter 3: Explorations. The Konoha ninja looked at the giant walls and gate much larger than Konohagakure's own. As the ninja walked towards the entrance, the gate began to slow open, and by the time they reached the gate itself, they had full entry. The rookie 12 and senseis entered and looked around and saw no guards or visitor log. "Where are the gate guards or log book?" asked a confused Choji. As he spoke, a villager walked by holding a sign and stopped to look at the Konoha group. "Ah, you're from a ninja village, aren't you?" said the stranger. At his question, the rookie 12 nodded and Kakashi asked. "Yes, we are ninja. We are from Konohagakure to exact. May I ask who you are?" Kakashi spoke in his cheerful but polite tone. "Oh, where are my manners? I'm Jiro Yoshida. I am the owner of the village's local bar, the Devil's Bar, or as others call it, the Devil's Sin." The man, now known as Jiro, responded with a smile and slight bow. The Konoha ninja responded in kind, each supplying their own names and rank with a slight bow. Jiro returned each bow before speaking. "To answer your question, there is no log book or gate guards," Jiro stated simply, as if this was a normal occurrence. The Konoha ninja were confused by this notion. "Then how do you know who is entering and leaving or preventing spies? How do you know about oncoming attacks?" asked Shikamaru with a curious tone and calculating gaze. "Well, to us it doesn't matter if we're entering or leaving, since if you commit a crime it is easily found out. As for spies or attacks, it's simply not possible. What you wouldn't have noticed was, as you stepped past the gate, was that there is actually a barrier seal there preventing anyone with negative intentions towards the village no entry, and if they do get through, the Osurabiki clan will sense them and capture them." Jiro spoke calmly, showing no signs of lying or worry that they will tell their village this information. Kakashi smiled. "Thank you for informing us, Jiro-san," he said politely. "No problem, Kakashi-san. We are quite used to having people travel through here, especially during the festivals. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to deliver this sign to one of the stalls." With that, Jiro walked off without looking back. Kakashi looked back at his group. "Now, since the locals seem friendly enough, you may want to ask them about the Kushoku no Kaige, Crimson Shadow, and remember, keep your guard up and eyes peeled," Kakashi stated seriously. "You may now go and explore, but try to stay in at least groups of 2. We are in an unfamiliar area and I don't want anyone getting lost, okay?" He returned his cheery attitude and eyes smile as soon as he received everyone's nod. Kurenai then took over. "We will all return back here in an hour and share any information. After 15 minutes, if anyone is missing, we will search for them. Is that understood?" she asked with narrow red eyes. Everyone once again nodded and split into different groups to look around the village of Tsukigakure. The Konoha ninja gazed around in awe as they took in the sights. A lot of the homes were medium-sized traditional one-story homes, made out of wood and painted beautifully. The apartment buildings towered at least 5 stories high and were either round or rectangular. Parks and greenery surrounded sections of the areas. The streets were filled with dozens of people getting ready for the festival tomorrow, or children were happily playing. But the most interesting sight was where the paved main road led. The road led straight to the end of the village to stone steps, which headed up a mountainside. At the top was a traditional one-story mansion surrounded by forest, which could easily be seen from the other side of the village. "Tenten Niji Gai-sensei, do you see that youthful house and mountain? Whoever lives up there must be truly youthful," yelled Rock Lee while pointing dramatically up the staircase. Gai was quickly dissolved into waterworks. "You are right, Lee. We must improve our fires of youth," Gai shouted while crying. Onlookers' sweat dropped, and then started to ignore the strange men in green spandex. After all, they've seen stranger. As Gai and Lee were being overly dramatic and yelling, Niji and Tenten inched away from the odd duo. Meanwhile, "Wow, there's so many stalls!" exclaimed an amazed Ino who was dashing through the streets. Shikamaru following behind lazily, with Choji beside him eating chips. Asuma trailed behind them, both lighting a smoke. I have to admit this is a pretty amazing setup, stated Choji in between munches. Something then caught Ino's eye. Oh, what's that over there? Questioned Ino as she hurried towards her interest, dragging Shikamaru and Choji with her. Asuma followed the trio. Troublesome, muttered Shikamaru. In the meantime, this place is awesome, shouted Kiba excitedly as they walked around the left side of the village. It is very different from Konoha festivals, said Hinata quietly with a small smile. I think that the most logical course of action is to speak to the inhabitants, stated Shino in monotone. Kurenai smiled in pride and Hinata nodded in agreement. Kiba just looked confused. What? Confusion laced Kiba's voice. Hinata came to poor Kiba's rescue. Shino is saying we should ask the villagers questions, she explained in a gentle tone. Okay then, let's go talk to that guy over there, Kiba said impatiently as he ran off. Hinata and Shino looked at each other before following. Korean's eyes twinkled in amusement, and she followed her old students. Elsewhere. Oh Sasuke, isn't this place beautiful? Gushed Sakura as they walked past a nearby park. Sasuke gave his inconsequential grunt, while Sai and Kakashi walked behind. Kakashi had his face buried in his orange book and Sai surveyed around him silently. Sakura squealed, causing Kakashi, Sai and Sasuke to flinch. Internally, of course. Since Sakura wasn't watching where she was going, she accidentally bumped into someone. So she quickly apologized. I'm sorry, she said at a regular sound level. Don't worry about it, miss, a kind and happy voice replied. Sakura looked up, and when she finally got a look at the person she bumped into, she was surprised. The man stood at roughly 5 feet 3 inches. He had blonde hair which, if looked at closely, had a layer of black underneath. He had warm amber eyes and had a black scarf around his neck. He wore an olive green traditional plain kimono, with an aqua jacket over top, and he had regular black ninja sandals. Just as Sakura was about to open her mouth, she was interrupted by a voice calling out, "Hurry up, Kobayashi!" Sakura turned to the owner of the voice and was just as surprised as earlier. The woman stood just 1 inch above the man dubbed Kobayashi. She had long wavy brown hair tied up in a single ponytail with half of it covering her face. Sakura could also see she had light green eyes. The woman was wearing a white and pink dress kimono with flowers decorated the bottom. The kimono highlighted her voluptuous features, such as her large kimono also covered her feet. All and both were incredibly pretty. Kobayashi laughed warmly. I'm coming, Kajoro. Kobayashi called back, and just like that he left, along with the woman now known as Kajoro. Later that day, everyone was once again gathered near the gate. After a few hours of exploring and questioning, everyone was wanting to know what they'd discovered. I booked all of us in at a nearby hotel. We were rather lucky since everything is basically booked out, stated Asuma. Everyone nodded in understanding. Okay, what did Team Guy find out? Asked Kakashi, his orange book nowhere in sight. After asking around, we discovered that the house on the mountain and the forest surrounding it all belonged to the Osurabiki, Grim, clan. In fact, they technically owned this entire village, exclaimed Tenten, shocking everyone around her except Asuma, Kakashi, Guy, and Kurenai. What? Cried everyone in shock. According to a woman named Chizuru, who is the owner of a local bakery, back before even the creation of Konoha, Tsukikikyo was owned by a cruel warlord who was bleeding this village dry. The warlord was very paranoid and had wanted the Osurabiki clan to assassinate some of the villagers and surrounding warlords. When the traveling Osurabiki had seen what he had done to the village, they killed him and took the deeds to the village and surrounding land. In order to keep it away from the warlord's son and surrounding enemies, the Osurabiki clan sold the deed to the village for 1 yen and settled down to create a home here and became their protection. Ever since then, the Osurabiki clan has been considered the true and rightful owner of Tsukikikyo, explained Niji. Team Kurenai? Asked Kakashi. We weren't able to find out much. However, by talking to a man named Shigeru, we managed to uncover that the Kashoku no Kage, Crimson Shadow, arrived 5.5 years ago alongside the current head of the Osurabiki clan, informed Hinata gently. Team Asuma? Questioned Kakashi. After talking to several stall and shop owners, we found out that this mission is probably more trouble than it's worth, stated Shikamaru before elaborating. As it turns out, the Kashoku no Kage, Crimson Shadow, is actually the Osurabiki, Grim, clan head's unofficial bodyguard. If the Kashoku no Kage isn't out of the village, they're with the clan head. I also believe there is more than what everyone is telling us, but it's too troublesome to find out what. Finished Shikamaru with a yawn. Kakashi nodded. My team's information is also rather limited. We discovered that everyone was keeping rather tight-lipped on the Kashoku no Kage. Nevertheless, we managed to find out that he is well loved and respected within the village and the Osurabiki clan itself. He is also apparently extremely close to the current clan head, and if anything were to happen, Nothing would stop the clan head raging war, stated Kakashi. So we know that the Kashoku no Kage, Crimson Shadow, is close to and the bodyguard of the current Osurabiki clan head. He is respected both within and outside of the Osurabiki clan to the point that war could be declared over him. Tsukigakure itself is owned by the Osurabiki clan and that the Kashoku no Kage, Crimson Shadow, showed up randomly 5.5 years ago, accompanied by the current head of the Osurabiki clan. Established Asuma. Everyone nodded at the information and soaked it in. Alright, everyone, I think that we should all follow Asuma to where we will be staying and get some sleep. We will continue this tomorrow, before enjoying the festival 2 days from now, said Kakashi as they all traveled to the hotel. Chapter 4, Surprising Whisker Marks. Early the next morning, Kakashi, Kurenai, Asuma, Guy, Tenten, Kiba, Shikamaru, Niji, Choji, Hinata, Shino, Lee Ino, Sakura and Sasuke were gathered in the dining room of the hotel. They were finishing up their conversation. You may wander around and do what you wish today before the festival. However, don't forget this is still a mission. Keep your eyes and ears open, stated Asuma, holding a smoke from his fingertips. Okay, Asuma-sensei, replied the rookie 12 except Sasuke, whom grunted. They all walked out the door of their hotel. After a few minutes of consideration, they all decided to stick together for a while. As they walked, they eventually came across child laughter and turned to see they were at a park. Nearly all of them shared a small smile in memory of their own childhood. Hey guys, is it just me or does that kid look familiar? Questioned Choji. Everyone turned to look where Kiba had pointed, only to see a small child roughly 4 years old. The child was a girl and rather short. Her hair was long, reaching her lower back, and was placed in a single long ponytail. Her hair coloring was odd, having sun blonde hair with silver streaks, making it seem ash or platinum blonde if you weren't looking for details. She was wearing a light blue cheongsam dress with an orange vine pattern and had no sleeves, creating a sense of déjà vu for the Konoha ninja. She wore black bike shorts under her dress, and blue ninja sandals completed the outfit. Despite these traits, it was her eyes and face that truly shocked the Leaf Ninja. Her eyes were a blinding sapphire blue, and on her cheeks were 3 very thin whisker marks. She looks like a female Naruto, exclaimed Ino and Tenten, voicing the thoughts of everyone present. I highly doubt it. I mean, who would have a child with Naruto? Stated Sakura, not believing anyone would like the blonde boy. There is no way, no one would marry the dope, said Sasuke with contempt. These comments caused all the rookies and their senseis to shake their heads at the stupidity of the statement, considering that Naruto was actually highly sought after by females outside of Konoha, and that was before the reveal of his heritage. Before the argument could take place, Kiba let out a wolf whistle. Man, check her out, declared Kiba, causing the group to look towards where Kiba was indicating. They saw an incredibly beautiful woman around their age, walking extraordinarily graceful towards the park they were standing near. She had straight, long silver hair with black streaks that reached her knees. She was dainty looking, despite being about 5 feet 6 inches in height, and she also had pale skin. Her face was extremely feminine and gentle looking, her lips were blood red, and she had deep azure blue eyes. She had an hourglass figure, perfectly proportioned and a very suitable bust size. She wore a black battle kimono which sat off the shoulders and reached her calf in length. The kimono flared outwards in an upside-down V shape at the knees. The black kimono was outlined in silver and decorated with a purple and silver butterfly pattern. The sash that tied the gown was purple and was outlined silver with the rest of the kimono. On her feet she wore black ninja sandals. This was the woman that currently had Kiba drooling, however the others noticed something Kiba hadn't. An engraved wedding band on her left hand. Sorry, Kiba looks like she's taken, said Hinata with a giggle. Before Kiba could respond, a shout was heard. Ototo, little brother, look out! Called out a girl's voice. Before the group could react, a small child ran straight into Sasuke, knocking them both over, causing Sasuke to glare, and the child to look sheepish. Once everything had settled, the group got a good look at the child, and it caused them to freeze and hold their breath. Why? Because the child looked exactly like a young Naruto, just with slightly longer hair. It was simply confirmed by them with the expression on the child's face, and when he rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Ototo, little brother, are you okay? Said a boy's voice. The group turned and saw the same girl from earlier, with another slightly taller boy beside her. The boy was obviously a brother to both the girl next to him and the boy still on the ground. His hair was just as bright as the other boy, the only differences being that it had black streaks, was shorter and was styled in strands jutting outwards in every direction, and a smaller, frontal cowlick of hair partially hanging over his forehead. The boy had the same sapphire blue eyes as his brother, as well as the same whisker marks. Whereas the fully blonde boy was wearing a burnt orange shirt, black shorts and ninja sandals. The black and blonde hair boy was wearing a dark green tank top with a black jacket, black shorts and ninja sandals. They were broken out of their thoughts when the boy called back to his siblings. I'm okay Nissan, big brother, Anasan, big sister. Confirming he was the youngest of the three. Good, that means you can apologize to the man you knocked over, said a melodic and soft, soothing voice. Everyone looked towards the origin of the voice to see the gorgeous woman from earlier. Okayasan, mother! Yelled the children in shock. The group looked wide-eyed, surprised that she has 3 children all looking the same woman however, had amusement twinkling in her azure blue eyes. Masuko, son, you need to apologize and where is your model, little sister? The second part was directed to all the children. Meanwhile the Konoha ninja looked like their eyes would fall out. I'm here Okayasan! Yelled another girl voice. The girl was definitely the woman daughter, there was zero ability to doubt it. The girl was a carbon copy of her mother except she had matching whisker marks with her sister. The girl had silver and black hair that went to her mid-back and was put in a braid. Her eyes were a cross between azure and sapphire blue. She was wearing a violet cheongsam dress with white flowers. She wore black tights underneath the dress and had purple ninja sandals to complete the outfit. The girl was out of breath like she had been running laps. Her mother shook her head in amusement. Before looking pointedly at her, Sun Hu sighed. I am very sorry for running into Mr. I should have been watching where I was going, the boy said, bowing slightly. Sasuke looked like he wanted to say something but simply nodded his head and accepted the apology. During this a bunch of the rookie 12 and Kurenai were still in shock. The woman had 4 children all the same age. Kurenai was surprised but most of all sympathetic, she had already given birth to only one and it hurt like hell. Excuse me miss, but which is the eldest and what is their names? Asked Sakura who sadly has been unable to conceive her own child yet. The woman smiled softly in response to her question. The black and blonde-haired boy is Ryu, he is the eldest. The silver and blonde-haired girl is Atsuko, she's the second eldest. The fully blonde boy is named Hikaru, he is the third eldest child, and finally we have Miyu, she is the youngest child. She said with pure happiness and pride lacing her soft voice. How old are they? Asked Ino in excitement. It wasn't the mother who answered. We're 4.5. Yelled a very happy Miyu, making everyone think they heard wrong. Ryu noticed and rolled his eyes. You didn't hear wrong. We're quadruplets. I'm the eldest by 3 minutes, he said in a bored tone of voice. Before another comment could be said, Atsuko quickly changed the topic. Okayasan, did you come get us to go shopping for the festival tomorrow? Asked Atsuko curiously. As a matter of fact I did. Actually we need to go if want to be on time for the tailor, explained the mother genteelly. The kids gave a small bow and quickly said their goodbyes as did their mother, before leaving. Everyone stood there blinking. Does that mean Naruto is married to that babe? Asked Kiba in shock and pride. No way in hell. The whiskers could just be a result of a bloodline, said Sakura, trying to convince herself more than anyone. Really? What about the blonde hair and a mini Naruto? Asked Tenten. One of his grandparents could have blonde hair for all we know. The so-called mini Naruto could just be a genetic mix, exclaimed Sakura, failing to convince herself and everyone by this point. After that emotional battle the groups wandered around Tsukigakure and eventually went back to the hotel to get ready for the festival the next day. Chapter 5 Festivities. The Konoha ninjas looked around the village in awe. Stalls filled the streets and lanterns and fairy lights were hung above the streets and on buildings. Streamers and banners were shown hanging from nearly every surface. Confetti and flowers were strewn about the area, all of it consisted of oranges, reds and yellows mixed together. It looked like a bright sunset. Music played in the background, loud enough to hear but not so loud you couldn't have a conversation. The streets were crowded with people from everywhere and nowhere. Everyone had large smiles as they shopped or talked. The atmosphere was just filled to the brim with joy and excitement. People were dressed in kimonos or ninja gear and children were happily playing between the crowds. All in all it was happy and breathtaking. The group themselves weren't dressed much differently than normal except Sakura, who was dressed in a rather over-the-top lavish pink kimono, telling the other girls it was necessary to showcase herself because she was the matriarch of the Uchiha clan. Hinata was dressed in an elegant yet casual light lavender and white kimono. Ino was dressed in a light blue and gray kimono which was a similar style to Hinata's, and finally Tenten was dressed in a soft yellow kimono. The guys and Kurenai were dressed as they normally would. It's beautiful, exclaimed Ino as she looked around at the decorations and lights. I agree, it looks so different than before, said Tenten with slight awe in her tones. Well, everyone knows what to do, however right now the most important thing to do is enjoy, said Kakashi, smiling at everyone. With that said, everyone took off to enjoy the festival, not realizing this is when they should have had their eyes open the most. Meanwhile, a tall lean man arrived at the gates. The man was wearing black ninja combat boots on his feet, above which was black A&BU style pants with more pockets than anyone had seen before. He wore a shuriken holder on his right leg and a kunai holder on his left hip, Tape was wrapped around his left leg. On his hands were black fingerless gloves. The man was wearing a dark red muscle shirt which showed of his broad chest and sculpted abs. If it wasn't for the shirt, you would think he had the body of a runner. Over the shirt he wore a black trench coat. On his back a red and white handle katana sat, its midnight black sheath matching the blade itself, if it was unsheathed. The blade was easily recognizable as the famous Ion no Kizuato, Eternal Scar. The man had a single silver earring dangling from his right ear and had a green gemstone attached to a black cord sat around his neck. If people knew their history and jewelry, they would realize it was the first Hokage's necklace. The man was wearing a red pattern ANBU mask which hid all but his dancing with light sapphire blue eyes. Finally, the man had a mop of long shoulder-length spiky blonde hair. This man was Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, completely still unaware he is a Namikaze. Naruto lifted his mask and placed it on the side of his head, showing the telltale whisker marks. Man, it's good to be home. Even if she's gonna kill me for being so late. He smiled before putting the mask back in place and jumping through the gate, vibrating in happiness and excitement to be home. As he moved through the village and crowds, he looked at all of the changes. He eyed the beautiful decorations, but didn't spend much time looking, since he was looking for something else entirely. People waved, nodded, smiled, or all of the above to him in greeting. He moved swiftly through the crowds, eyes darting over everyone's faces. He kept moving and glancing, until he finally found what he was searching for. Or more appropriately, who he was searching for. He was looking directly at her back so he couldn't see her face, but he didn't need to. He already knew she would have a small smile and warm eyes. Her hair was straight and down as always. It went to the back of her knees as she refused to have it any shorter. It was a tradition in her family that all the family heads had long hair, including her father. The only thing different about her hair was the tiny clear and blue gems which glinted in the light of the lanterns matching her kimono. Her kimono was white with a black trim. The bottom of her kimono was decorated with sapphire blue lilies which looked like they were made from fire, and her sash matched the color of the lilies. All in all, she was a vision. He slowly made his way towards her, already knowing that she more than likely sensed him already. As soon as he was 3 steps behind her, she turned her head to face him with a warm smile. She went to speak, but before she could get any words out, Naruto felt something heavy impact his legs with a loud cry of "Otosan, father." He looked down and smiled as he looked at his 4 wonderful children. Atsuko was dressed in a peach-colored kimono with a white-colored trim and sash. The kimono was covered in aqua-colored dragonflies, and her sliver-blonde hair was out of its usual ponytail, and was instead laying straight down to her lower back. She wore a peach-colored flower in her hair to match her kimono. Miyu was wearing a light green-colored kimono with a purple-colored sash and trim. Her kimono sported 2 white foxes chasing each other. Her hair was in its customary braid, but it was over her shoulder and had a white fox clip at the top. His first son Ryo was dressed in a black kimono which had a gold trim and sash. His kimono was decorated with a large golden dragon, and his hair remained the same. His second son Hikaru wore an orange kimono, of course. It was adorned with black rising flames leading into a black flaming wolf. His hair as always matched his own. He couldn't help but give a large grin, even if his children couldn't see. It didn't even matter, before being down and hugging them all despite a few protests from Ryo and Hikaru. "I'm home and I'm sorry I'm late," he said with a small grin. This had been a tradition for a long time. Back to when he was first found by his beautiful wife. If one of them left, the other greeted them back. It may seem small, but to someone as lonely as Naruto it was everything. "Welcome back," she said in her soft voice, giving a gentle smile, continuing to stare into his eyes. Naruto pulled her into a soft embrace, lifted his mask to the side of his head, and tilted her chin upwards towards him. Meanwhile, Ino was looking at all the different stalls along with the rest of the girls, while the boys simply trailed behind. As Ino was looking at a particular pretty flower sculpture, a flash of yellow caught her eye. When she took a full look in the direction of the bright color, she froze. "Guys!" she called loudly, in order to make sure everyone heard her. Everyone turned their attention to Ino and followed her line of sight. There was their target. They all continued staring as he approached someone. "Is that?" said Tenten, lost for words. Hinata was standing in a quiet shock along with Shino and Kurenai. Kakashi had covered Sakura's mouth when it looked like she was about to screech. Sasuke looked irritated. Asuma had his lighter in hand ready to light a cigarette, Shikamaru having almost dropped the one in his own hand. Kiba's mouth was gaping, giving a perfect imitation of a fish. Lee and Guy looked confused. Niji just blinked. It was Sai who saved them from their current states. "It seems we have found the Kashoka no Kage, Crimson Shadow," Sai said in his usual monotone. "We should just go get him now, so we can end this farce of a mission," said Sasuke. Annoyance and arrogance laced his voice like usual, as he started to walk towards them before Kakashi grabbed the back of his collar. "Wait!" Kakashi literally hissed at him, as they all remained staring as the person he approached turned so that they could see their face. They were all surprised to see it was the woman from the park. They all watched as the kids cried out and hugged the mane. They were all taken back when the children called him Otosan father. See, Naruto isn't their father. There is no way Naruto could ever be someone as strong as the Kushoku no Kage, Crimson Shadow. He was nothing but a no-good orphan, said Sakura. Kakashi let go of her in order to grab Sasuke. Everyone glared at her and was ready to throw some very poisoned words in her direction. However, Hinata called them all to a stop when she gasped. Naruto! Was the gasp that she spoke. Everyone confused turned back to the Kushoku no Kage, Crimson Shadow, only to see his mask was no longer on his face, but on the side of his head, giving a good view of his face. No one dared move. They simply stared as their Naruto kissed one of the most beautiful women they'd ever seen. Kakashi-sensei, what do we do? Asked Choji, unsure of how to react. They all felt joy at seeing him once again live and well, happy that he had a family of his own, sad knowing that deep down he wouldn't return to the village now. Kakashi grimaced, running a bunch of different scenarios in his mind. Tomorrow we will speak to the head of the Osurabiki, Grim, clan. Then if we make no progress, we call in Lady Tsunade, said Kakashi, having an ominous feeling that things were not going to go well. Chapter 6, Discoveries. The next morning and second day of the AI, Kazoku, Haiwa no Saiten, Love, Family and Peace Festival. Teams Kakashi, Guy, Kurenai and Asuma were awake and organizing for the meeting and day ahead. Kakashi-sensei, would it be alright if our team investigate the mysterious woman with Naruto yesterday? Asked Tenten, nervous she might be overstepping her bounds. However, Kakashi was unknown to her, actually considering her request and not annoyed at all. Why do you want to investigate this unknown woman? Asked Kakashi. Despite being extremely curious himself, he couldn't authorize them spitting from the group without good reasoning, due to the importance of this meeting. Well, Kakashi-sensei, if this woman was as important as she looked to Naruto, there's little doubt he wouldn't be with or at least near her, so if we know where and who she is, we know where Naruto / the Kushoku no Kage, Crimson Shadow, will be. Respond Tenten, hoping he understood her reasoning. Kakashi was wavering to agree, but he wasn't sure that she was truly sure of herself. Kakashi wasn't the only one wondering if she was honestly okay with this. Are you sure, Tenten? I hear that the Osurabiki, Grim, clan had a large amount of rare and strange weapons. Asked Niji, concerned for his fiancée would regret her choice. However, she looked at both of them with assurance and certainty. Yes, I'm sure. This is important, said Tenten with no hesitation. Kakashi sighed. Okay, Team Guy can go and investigate this mysterious woman, Kakashi drawled lazily. Yes, Tenten cheered. But she was quickly interrupted. However, you must take Pakin with you. This is so you can relay anything important, or if there's an emergency, said Kakashi while summoning Pakin. Tenten looked at the small pug. Yo, said Pakin while raising one paw. Tenten looked at Kakashi before agreeing. Both Niji and Tenten went to gather the rest of their team. An hour later, everyone was ready to go. Kakashi took point and led them. He was flanked by Asuma and Kurenai. Behind them were Sai, Sakura and Sasuke, who were followed by Shino, Hinata and Kiba, and behind them was Shikamaru, Choji and Ino. All of them were dressed in their mission gear, albeit it was a lot more done up than their regular mission gear, but still mission gear. It didn't take long to make it to the steps on the mountain that led to the Osurabiki, Grim, clan's home. As they stood on the bottom of the stairs, the senseis turned to face their old students. Before we go up these stairs, we want to remind you all that this is no different from any other diplomatic mission, stated Kurenai, red eyes sharp like her tone of voice demanding respect. You are aware you are representing Konoha, its ninja and its Hokage. Kurenai continued, standing tall. If any of you step out of line or do anything that embarrasses our village, you will be gravely punished. Her voice took a dark tone none had ever heard her use. There are rules you will follow, some of which you already know, stated Asuma, taking over from his wife, but his tone was no less commanding and strong. Firstly, we do not know who the leader is, so show respect to everyone. If the leader has discovered any of us being rude to their members, they will not take it kindly. He looked over all of them, allowing his eye to convey the seriousness of this matter. Secondly, there is to be no fighting. This is not just our rule but the village's rule as well. No fighting during the festival, without permission of the Osurabiki, Grim, clan head. Asuma stated, having dealt with Osurabiki clan members previously when being a 12 ninja guardian. Lastly and most importantly, do not insult, challenge or demean the Osurabiki clan head or the Osurabiki clan in the head's or clan's presence, said Kakashi, extremely darkly and his eyes turning to steel within a blink of an eye. Now, that's everything, said Kakashi in a happy tone, personality doing a complete 180. However, the tension in his shoulders was noticeable to anyone who genuinely knew the Scarecrow. Shoulders squared, they made their way up the large stone staircase. After a lengthy climb, Kakashi and the rest of the senseis and Konoha 12 stood at the top of the large staircase they climbed. Geez, how do these people climb those all the time? Questioned a slightly puffing Ino. You have to admit it's good stamina training, said Kiba. Akamaru barked in agreement. As Kiba and Ino argued, the group had moved toward a set of gates slightly further in from the steps. Just like the village gate, this gate was also wide open and had no one guarding it. This odd phenomenon was noticed and noted by the senses and Shikamaru. The rest of the rookies were fawning over the design of the wooden gate. The gate stood high and had Osurabiki, Grim, engraved at the top. Around the gate was decorated with carvings of swirling flames. Sasuke simply didn't care, and Sakura was drooling over how awesome Sasuke was. The ninja all visibly straightened before walking through the gate. In town, Tenten, Lee, Guy and Niji were having a bit of trouble trying to find someone to talk to. Everyone was simply too busy due to the festival and too completely trusting of the Konoha ninja. The ninja, however, had a slightly different problem. They didn't know who lived in the village and who was visiting since they had not ever been here before. Why don't we speak to the woman that owns the bakery? Questioned Niji, looking towards his future wife. You mean Chizuru? Said future wife looked at him like she did at weapons before becoming angry. No one thought of this sooner. With that, the four of them trudged on to find Chizuru. Back on the mountain, everyone was standing in a courtyard. The courtyard was paved with stone and had several different pathways. Off to the front left was a small stone garden. In front of the group was a lovely traditional mansion with a wrap-around raised porch. The whole home was made of dark wood. It also helped that surrounding the home was a very luscious forest. As the group headed through the courtyard, they finally found someone. He was standing at the entrance of the house, in front of the porch. The man had blonde and black hair, he had amber eyes, and he wore an olive-green traditional plain kimono, with an aqua jacket over top, and he had regular black ninja sandals. It didn't take long for Sakura to recognize this man. After all, she bumped into him before the festival. Before she could continue her thoughts, the man spoke. Hello, my name is Kubanashi. I wish to welcome all of you Konoha ninja and hope you've enjoyed our village. Kubanashi spoke with a warm, kind and happy voice that easily put the Konoha ninja at ease. It also helped that he didn't seem like a fighter. Kakashi went to speak but was interrupted by another voice. What are these people doing here, Kubanashi? The group followed Kubanashi's gaze and saw a black-haired man with dark green eyes. He was lean and wore all black. Both his forearms were bandaged, and he wore plain black gloves on his hands. He had a large sword that was covered in bandages on his back. His face was stoic, and his eyes were cold and hard. They are here with the commander's permission, Saizo, responded Kubanashi with ease. The two of them seemed to have a silent conversation, which made Saizo nod and disappear. Kubanashi turned back towards the group. I apologize for Saizo, he has an issue with trusting others, especially ninja, Kubanashi said with an apologetic smile. He started leading the group into the compound. Kubanashi-san, from what I have gathered, I was wondering if you were Osurabiki-sama's representative, asked Kurenai in a respectful tone of voice. Kubanashi couldn't help but chuckle slightly. I am rather amused you think that, miss. No, I am not Commander's representative. Commander is here on the compound, so there is no need for a representative. Besides, I am not of the correct social standing even if Commander wasn't here, replied Kubanashi politely. May I ask what your social standing within the clan then? Asked Kurenai just as politely. Also, who is this commander you continue to mention? Asked Asuma in curiosity. Commander is what we call our clan head. It is a tradition founding back to the first clan head. As informing you of my social standing, it is of no issue. I am a vassal of the Osurabiki, Grim, clan, answered Kubanashi, shocking the senseis slightly. Don't look so surprised. Most of, if not all of those within the clan are actually vassals of the clan, smiled Kubanashi. He suddenly stopped walking and the group stopped in surprise, not even noticing they'd been walking through the mansion this whole time. We are here, the commander is just inside. I will escort you back when your business is concluded, stated Kubanashi, opening the door for the group. The group walked through the door. With Tenten, Lee, Guy and Niji. The group were sitting around a table with a cup of tea each and a plate of biscuits in the middle. Chizuru-san, I was wondering if you could tell us about the Osurabiki clan head and possibly about the romantic partner of Kashoka no Kage, Crimson Shadow, asked Tenten politely. The brown-haired, glasses-wearing woman giggled. Of course. But first you need to know that Kashoka no Kage, Crimson Shadow, is actually married. Oh, she is a rather wonderful woman. Also you need to know the obvious, said Chizuru happily. The obvious? Which is? Asked Niji, curiosity leaking in. Certainly. Well, what is obvious is rather simple and you'll kick yourselves for not realizing it sooner. There were more than enough hints, said Chizuru, confusing the group. Chizuru-san, can you please not speak in riddles? We need information on the two people, said Tenten. That's just it, there is no two people, said Chizuru, not easing the confusion, only adding to it. Huh, said Tenten. The Osurabiki clan head and wife to the Kashoka no Kage, Crimson Shadow, is the same person, said Chizuru, making everyone's eyes go wide at the declaration. So what you're saying is that the Osurabiki clan head and the woman we saw with the Kashoka no Kage, Crimson Shadow, are the same person? What about the woman in the park and those 4 kids that look like him? Asked Niji, mind working overdrive. Chizuru smirked. Did this woman have silver and black hair? Questioned Chizuru. Yes, she did, Niji responded, nodding. What if hypothetically, I were to say that those 4 kids look like him because they are his? Or that the woman you saw was his wife? Responded Chizuru, drinking her tea. While Niji froze. Niji? Questioned Tenten. Thank you for the tea and information, Chizuru-san, said Niji as he rushed his team out of the bakery. After they left, a shadow appeared to Chizuru's right. Are you sure that was wise, Chizuru-san? Asked the figure. Only time can tell, Yuji-san, responded Chizuru, still drinking her tea. After leaving the bakery, Niji led his team to a nearby empty area. Niji, what was all that about? Asked Tenten, annoyed she had no idea on what's going on. Chizuru just gave us some very important information, Tenten, said Niji, having everything click into place. Be clear, Niji, yelled Tenten, fed up and annoyed. Chizuru-san just confirmed that the children we ran into were Naruto's, stated Niji. Tenten nodded, already assuming as much from their appearances. She also confirmed the woman we saw at the park was Naruto's wife, Niji stated, and left the sentence, having to see if Tenten would figure it out. But Chizuru-san said that Naruto's wife and the Osurabiki clan head was the same person, said Tenten, finally catching up. Which means we already met the Osurabiki clan head, said Niji, sending the group into silence. Chapter 7, Discussions and Disagreements. The group entered through the door that would lead them face to face with the mysterious Osurabiki, grim, clan head, and despite themselves they felt nervous. Determined to complete their mission and get answers, they squashed it down and buried it. As they walked in, they noticed it was a reasonably large room. It appeared to be like a small dojo, however the cushions on the floor and the floor slightly raised at the head of the room, creating a platform. The room had fairly good lighting, not as bright as the halls that they had walked through. What stood out to the group the most was the single person sitting formally on the singular cushion on the platform. When they got a look at her, the group was completely still. Not only was the head not what they expected, but also who. More importantly, they were stunned that they'd already met her. She was easily recognizable, not only due to her beauty, which was unquestionably not only an understatement to describe her, but undeniably unforgettable. But in this case it was her clothing and hair color that made it obvious. She wore a black battle kimono that was off the shoulders, that split into an upside-down V shape at the knees and reached her calves. The kimono and its sash has a silver outline, and the sash itself was purple-colored. The kimono was beautifully decorated with a purple and silver butterfly pattern. Not able to see her feet due to the formal sitting, they can only assume that she wore the same as last time, black ninja sandals. Her silver hair with black streaks went to her knees and length was straight down and framed her face. Her pale face was delicate and sharp but remained wholesomely feminine looking. Her face held stunning dark azure blue eyes which were enclosed by long black eyelashes. Her lips were blood red which stood apart from her pale skin. Her figure was best described as an hourglass, yet despite her curves, she still managed to appear dainty. She also held a very graceful air about her. This was the same woman whom they met at the park. The same woman who had 4 children that looked like Naruto. The same woman that was married. Which meant that she was the wife of Naruto and mother of his kids. Any possible thoughts they had or hadn't have been thinking was broken when the woman finally spoke. Please sit. Her voice was not hard or forceful like they had expected. Instead, it was gentle and actually welcoming. So in an almost automatic movement by most, they sat on the provided cushions and copied her sitting position in a more relaxed and less formal manner. When they had all gotten comfortable, she spoke again. Welcome to the Osurabiki clan compound. I hope your courtyard welcoming was satisfactory? She asked the last part as a question, in the same kind tone. However, what threw off a large portion of the ninja was the soft, kind and genuine smile they had all received from the second they had entered the room. In the end it was Kakashi who answered. Thank you for allowing us within your compound, and yes, it had been an unexpected but pleasant surprise. His reply was rather formal, which surprised most of his comrades. In fact, anyone who was not a Suma had been surprised. Despite the formal reply, her smile didn't remove itself. Now, before any formal negotiation, agreements etc. begin, I would like to introduce myself, since I had not last time. My name is Ruka Osurabiki, Uzumaki and leader of the Osurabiki clan. Her smile didn't even twitch, her voice did not waver, and worst of all, she spoke the truth. This woman, Ruka, was Naruto's wife. Kakashi, Asuma and Kurenai already knew the second her last name was spoken. Their mission was a failure. However, the rookies did not. I am Kakashi Hatake. These are my comrades and squad: Asuma Sarutobi, Kurenai Yuhi Sarutobi, Hinata Hyuga, Shino Aburame, Ino Yamanaka, Choji Akimichi, Kiba Inuzuka and his companion Akamaru, Shikamaru Nara, Sakura Haruno Uchiha and Sasuke Uchiha. We also have another 4 comrades currently in the village: Might Guy, Niji Hyuga, Tenten and Rock Lee. Each of the attending people nodded in acknowledgement when introduced. Kakashi also didn't break his formal tone, although he was concerned how he would react to his remaining students. He was no fool. Naruto would have told her why he was banished and how he had been treated within the Leaf Village. Which meant she would most likely at the very least want blood, at worst Konoha's destruction. Hence why he was shocked, along with everyone else, when she simply kept smiling and gave a small nod in greeting to everyone introduced. At everyone's apparent reaction, her eyes glistened in amusement. There is no need to be concerned. When you enter this village and compound, any prejudice or anger I had towards any of you are non-existent. This festival is about peace, love and family. Hence the name the AI, Kozoku, Haiwa no Saiten, Love, Family and Peace Festival. I will not dishonor the meaning of this festival by feeling and doing the opposite. Not only that, but this meeting has nothing to do with such things. Her voice showed her genuine honesty in what she spoke while keeping its soft tones. Very well, I shall believe you. Shall we commence the discussion? Asked Kakashi, freaking the Konoha ninja out at how un-Kakashi he was acting. On to business then, what is it you need? Ruka asked, a small amount of authority in her soft voice. Lady Tsunade gave us a mission which involved tracking down the Kashoku no Kage, Crimson Shadow, and persuade him to join Konoha. However, we were unable to find him or find out information on him, Kakashi stated. He saw Ruka's grin widen slightly. Ah, but now you are fully aware of not only where he currently is but who he is. What will you do now? She spoke with amusement in her tone, but there was an underlying hint of something else as well. Originally, I had intended to ask you about the woman we saw him with and about the children that had his features. He gave her a slightly dry look. Now I cannot or need to do so. She simply hummed in response, waiting for him to continue. I do still have many questions, however, for both you and him. My team still needs to complete their mission, and so I would like to speak to him and ask you arrange a meeting. Kakashi's responses were always kept formal, and he did not break eye contact with Ruka. Tell me this, what is the point? She looked at everyone and her voice was the same. Before Kakashi could respond, a loud shout interrupted him. Because this is a mission, and he is our friend, yelled Kiba, not realizing he is being rude towards someone equivalent of a Kage. And? Ruka asked. And what, lady? Yelled Kiba in impatience. How does that matter or help you? Asked Ruka, eyes not leaving the Inuzuka. What do you mean, how does it matter? He is our friend, shouted Kiba, not understanding what Ruka is saying. Ruka shook her head. And how does that change anything, Inuzuka-san? She once again questioned. Do you truly believe that he will simply return with you because you are apparently friends? She continued. He has never let his friends down when they need him, and Konoha is his home, Kiba yelled with a slight growl, not noticing the darkening of her eyes. Kakashi, however, did and prayed to every kami, god, he knew for the mercy of themselves. You are a fool, Inuzuka-san, stated Ruka, her voice slightly colder than before. Kiba tilted his head in question and opened his mouth to shout, but was interrupted by Ruka. You call yourself friend, yet, whenever he has needed help you were not there. You say by being this friend that he would do whatever you asked. You say Konoha is his home, yet he had no love, care, kindness or family until it was too late. He is loved, adored and worshipped here in Tsukigakure. He has a life he has built, even has a wife and children. I highly doubt that he will give all of it up, just because you simply ask him to. Even further, since you stayed a place that actively despised him home. Tell me something, Inuzuka-san. When he was starved, did you give him food? Were you his friend when he was glared at and isolated? Where were you when he was beaten? Yes, some friend you are. Konoha disdains him, Tsukigakure praises him, Konoha scorn and ridicule him, and Tsukigakure revere and cherish him. Do you see the difference? Why would he willingly return to the so-called home that discards him, from the place that willingly embraced him? Ruka asked. Her calm, ice-laced voice was filled with power as she spoke. Kiba looked down, having no response that he could possibly give. Other than that, why would I give up one of my most powerful and promising clansmen? Stated Ruka, returning the conversation back to a more political and formal route. Ignoring any personal connections to myself, I would gain nothing by giving him over to you, declared Ruka. Kakashi's uncovered eye twinkled. This is where he could work in getting Naruto back. But before even a single word was uttered from his cloth-covered mouth, he was interrupted again. What about the Sharingan? Asked Sasuke, who stood up from his siding positions confidently. Ruka's eyes flickered to him, in curiosity more than actual consideration. What precisely are you stating, Uchiha-san? Ruka asked with slightly guarded eyes. Sasuke bristled a little at being addressed as San rather than Sama, but quickly quelled it for this discussion. Exactly as I already said. I will give you a Sharingan wielder, in exchange for Uzumaki, pronounced Sasuke. Kakashi was cursing his black-haired student in his mind, when Ruka's eyes hardened into stone. Uchiha-san, I would be very careful of what you are implying. I am a married woman. Ruka's voice was as hard as her eyes. Sakura, however, was wondering how Sasuke could give a Sharingan wielder, when he was the only one left. Well, Osurabiki-san, considering you were willing to spread your legs for a dobe, idiot, and demon, I doubt you'd turn away an elite with actual worthy genes. Sasuke spoke nonchalantly, infuriating everyone that heard. Sakura was devastated that Sasuke would offer this woman such a thing, especially since he refuses to do so with her and would not allow her to have his children. Despite the counsels didn't matter though, because as soon as Sasuke finished speaking, the room was blasted with chakra and killing intent, Ki, so strong, the floor cracked underneath Ruka. Enough. Her smile was gone, voice filled with anger and was saturated in ice, vibrated off the walls. Her eyes seemingly grew hard enough to solidify and her body radiated rage. However, they did not expect her next words. Sheath your weapons and step back, she commanded. Everyone turned to see a group of at least 10 all aiming weapons at Sasuke's vital spots. The closest 3 alone had the weapons inches from his neck. Had she not spoke when she had, his head would have been taken cleanly off. The presumed guards protested her order. Well, at least tried to protest. Which she quickly stopped with a few words and a look. Do you not trust one can defend myself from a few words? Her glare could have frozen wastelands. They shook her heads and did as she had bidden. Her eyes turned to Sasuke. How dare you insult me in such a manner? I am Ruka Uzumaki Osurabiki, clan head and leader of the Osurabiki clan. I am the wife of Naruto Uzumaki and the mother of his children. I will not be compared to a common whore. You insolent swine that calls itself a man. Ruka's voice was heavy and filled to the brim with power. How dare you, filth? I am Sasuke Uchiha, head of the Uchiha clan. One of the elite. You should be grateful I offered my seed to you. Especially because you are the Dobe's seconds. Sasuke's voice was filled with anger due to the lack of respect. However, Ruka was far angrier, and this was her village. She displayed her position of power by standing. You are lucky I don't remove your head for such insults. You are arrogant and narcissistic, you are a child. She turned to Kakashi. Take your vile thing and leave my home. I shall allow you to stay within the village but obey my rules. If you are caught breaking my rules, there shall be grave consequences. I will inform my husband of you all being here, and he will seek you out if he wishes. Leave. She dismissed them from her presence. She was honestly fighting not to murder the Uchiha. She did not want a war with Konoha if possible. She could not remove them from the village without them breaking the rules due to agreeing with Tsunade's request, which allowed them to stay until the end of the festival. Kakashi quickly agreed and left, grabbing Sasuke on the way out. At the bottom of the stairs. Have you got any idea of what you have done? Yelled Asuma at Sasuke. But before either could speak, they were interrupted by Team Guy. Guys. You need to hear this. The Osurabiki, Grim, clan head is Tenten was interrupted by Kurenai. Is Naruto's wife. We are aware, said Kurenai, annoyed at the current situation and torn reputation of Konoha. Well, yes, but besides that, once again she was interrupted. She is the mother of Naruto's children and the woman we saw at both the festival and the park, said Shikamaru lazily. Besides all of that, yelled Tenten, getting their attention. She glared at Ino when it looked like she was about to speak. She's the Beneheim, Crimson/Blood Princess, shouted Tenten excitedly. Who? Asked Choji, causing Tenten to glare then sigh. Just look at this, said Tenten as she held up a bingo book. Name, Ruka Osurabiki. Alias, Beneheim, Crimson/Blood Princess. Age, roughly 20 years old. Traits, knee-length silver hair with black streaks. Dark blue azure eyes. Wears a black battle kimono, outlined in silver and decorated with silver and purple butterflies. Wears a purple sash. Village/affiliation, Osurabiki clan, Tsukigakure. Known affinities, fire, wind, water. Taijutsu, excellent uses in unnamed style. Rarely used, prefers using Kenjutsu. Kenjutsu master. Last known user of the Hiten Mitsurugi Ryu style. Katana has a silver blade with a black and purple hilt. Usually sealed in wrist. Chakra level, Kage. Summoning, white tigers. Bloodline, Akuma no Hano, devil flames, creates unique flames which can freeze, decay, etc. Other abilities, sensor, weapons expert, blacksmith, tracking and sealing. Rank S. Jounin should engage with caution. Chunin and below do not approach. Bounties. Odogekure, dead or alive 840,000 Ryo. Kumogakure, alive 750,000 Ryo, dead 800,000 Ryo. Iwagakure, dead or alive 890,000 Ryo. Kirigakure, alive 780,000. As the group read over the bingo book entry, only one thing ran through the rookies' minds. Holy Kami, God! Yelled Ino in shock, summing up everyone else's thoughts. Niji, however, noticed the behavior and looks of the people whom just walked out the compound. Especially the anger in the Uchiha's eyes. What have you done? Asked Niji in a dangerous tone of voice. Kiba said something stupid and Sasuke basically insulted her and insinuated she was a prostitute. Responded Shikamaru. Niji glared at those repressible for whatever mess they are now in. What do we do now, Kakashi? Asked Asuma in concern, not that it was very noticeable. For now, other than contacting Lady Tsunade on what has happened, nothing. We were ordered to stay until the end of the festival, and it is still possible Naruto will come to see us. Even if it's to remove our limbs. Said Kakashi in a mix of seriousness and cheerfulness that just shouldn't be possible. I believe we should all call it a day. It has been a rather strenuous day. Said Ichiri Kakashi, which was followed by nods of the group in agreement. This horrible day, however, was only the beginning of something far worse that had yet to happen. Chapter 8: Consequences to Stupidity. At the Osurabiki mansion. Ruka sat within her study, going through the small amount of paperwork needed to be done. As she worked, another entered the room. She spoke without one looking up to address her visitor. It is polite to knock, you know. Her gentle voice flooded the once silent room. Her guest smiled at her words. You know I'm no good with manners, love. His voice easily broadcasted his amusement with her and her words. She rolled her eyes and looked at her guest, with a small amused smile appearing on her own face. Too true, was the simple playful response Ruka gave to him. He playfully glared at her, before moving to sit in one of the chairs in front of her. You are so cruel to me, dear. He wailed dramatically, while he placed his hand to his heart. Ruka was always humored by his antics despite herself. However, in response she dramatically rolled her eyes once again. Did you need something, Naruto, love? Her statement immediately darkened the previously light-hearted atmosphere of the room. They were here, weren't they? His voice was tired and small. Almost like a small frightened child. Yes, we spoke in the meeting room. I had the table taken out, to make more space. She relied, watching his face and eyes for his reactions and emotions. Naruto's brow creased in confusion. How many were there? He asked, thinking that adding more room was odd, considering about 8 people at least met in the room often. There were 12 and a large dog. Apparently there was at least 4 more in town. She smiled wearily while talking. The one whom seemed like the mission leader, he had silver hair and called himself Kakashi Hatake. There was also an Uchiha. She spoke normally until she said Uchiha, where she scoffed. Naruto's eyes twinkled a little when she brought up Kakashi but darkened when she said Uchiha. Yes, I heard about that confrontation. Naruto's voice became a tad lower than normal. She winced knowing he was very angry at the Uchiha and possibly a little angry at her for not mentioning it. I told them I'd let you know that they're in town, and you'll visit them if you want to, stated Ruka softly. Naruto nodded. I'll let you know if I decide to go see them, he replied, standing and walking towards the door. Thank you, she replied as he left. She hoped today would be relaxing and that their visitor from Konoha don't cause any trouble. In town. Sasuke was walking around town, his posture screamed confidence and arrogance. He didn't move around people, believing they should be like Konoha and simply move out of his way. The people of Tsukigakure sensed his arrogance, and saw he would not move, so they did move out of the way except one. Sasuke, however, was not paying attention due to the fact he was too busy stewing in his anger and brooding over the meeting yesterday, as well as what Ruka had said to him. In fact, he was so busy moping over yesterday, and because he was expecting everybody to move out of his way, that he was surprised when his body knocked into someone else's, which due to his already bad mood and haughtiness, he simply got angrier. Unfortunately, anger makes people do stupid things, and this time was no different. Kakashi and the rest of Konoha 12 looked in the direction they heard an explosion. A giant dust cloud filled the sky and was visible through the entire town. Soon several more explosions sounded and Kakashi's eyes widened when he realized someone was unaccounted for. He immediately ran off towards the explosions, followed by everyone else from Konoha. While running, Kakashi was begging with his mind, please tell me he's not that stupid. As Kakashi was running towards the explosions, so was Naruto. He, however, was taking a little longer since he knew any of the others nearby would be able to at the very least handle it until he got there. He wasn't all that concerned about why or who caused the explosions. No, he was far more worried about how his wife would react, and knowing her for as long as he had, He knew with little doubt she would be very angry. Kakashi finally reached the origin of the giant smoke clouds and explosions. As the smoke cleared, he saw Sasuke standing and being bound in what looked like thick red ninja wire. Across from him on the other side was a man who was a head shorter than Kakashi himself. The man was also wrapped in the same thick red wire. The man had long blue, almost green-looking hair. He wore a light blue male kimono and his eyes were a piercing amber. In between the both stood the vassal known as Kubanashi. The same thick red wire was held in his hands, binding the two troublemakers. "Enough! Both of you!" yelled Kubanashi, catching everyone's immediate attention and shocking everyone as well. No one could quite believe the warm man just yelled. Sasuke grunted and didn't stop struggling, while the blue-haired man relaxed slightly. "Kaido, what were you thinking? The commander is going to be furious with you," stated Kubanashi, while the blue-haired man, now known as Kaido, paled. Kubanashi finally turned his attention to Sasuke, who was still struggling against his binds. "I honestly don't even think I want to know what you were thinking. The commander is already pissed enough at you. After what you did yesterday, you are actually stupid enough to break her rules." Kubanashi glared at the Uchiha. He then saw Kakashi. "Keep your people under control." He looked at the two still wrapped in their binds. He suddenly loosened his hold and called his wire back, releasing the two. However, because there was no warning, Sasuke, who had still been struggling, lost his balance. Unfortunately, his fall only made him angrier. As he stood, he quickly went through several hand signs. No one noticed until it was too late, and he breathed in. "Sasuke, no!" yelled Kakashi in a feeble attempt to stop him before he released the technique, since he was too far away to physically. "Fire style, fireball jutsu." Sasuke then started firing fireballs towards Kubanashi and Kaido. Kaido deflected the fireball heading to him using the water style, liquid bullets technique. Kubanashi simply dogged his, knowing that nothing near him would get damaged. This continued for a little while, until Sasuke, wanting to catch Kubanashi off guard, shot a fireball to where he believed Kubanashi would dodge to next. However, he released the technique too early. The fireball was now, instead of hitting either Kubanashi or Kaido, was going to hit some civilians who had been one could do anything because they were too far away. Then suddenly someone dropped in front of the fireball. Everyone stood shocked as the fireball hit the mystery person and they erupted into flames. No one moved, all frozen in complete shock. Then all of a sudden the dark orange flame started changing color and rise. The pillar of blue fire swiftly settled and all that remained standing was one very angry Ruka Uzumaki Osurabiki. Chapter 9, We Meet Again. Ruka can't recall a time she had been so angry in her life. So far only yesterday seemed anywhere close, but, compared to right now, that felt like nothing. One look at the scene told her everything she needed to know. Unfortunately, she can't be rash right now, she needed facts. She took a single long intake and release of air, before she spoke. "Explain." "Now." The words were spoken as orders and her tone was biting. Kubanashi was the one who spoke up, mostly due to the fact he was the only one who wasn't in the wrong. "Sasuke, Uchiha, and Kaido had already broken out in a fight when I had arrived. Once seeing what had happened, I restrained them both with my wire. After waiting for them to calm, I released the wire. In a sudden rage, Sasuke Uchiha attacked us with fire ninjutsu," Kubanashi reported easily. On Ruka's part, the only facial movement she made was her mouth, which twitched upwards slightly hearing that Kubanashi tied them up. "Kaido, as a member of the Osurabiki, Grim, clan, I expect better from you. I am quite disappointed in you. Since you also had a part in this mess, you will be punished. Understood?" Ruka stated calmly. She always hated having to do this. But with the festival on, there were people from everywhere. If she allowed a clan member get away with fighting, others will think they can do the same. Kaido, looking chastised, nodded. "Yes, I fully understand." "Good. From today onwards you're grounded for 2 weeks and you have to help Momoko and Kijoro in the kitchen." Ruka said this with a sweet smile. "Honestly, this is actually easy in terms of punishment." Kaido just groaned and nodded. Her eyes turned hard and the area dropped a few degrees. Her voice was like an iceberg, it was so cold. "Now, Sasuke Uchiha, I do believe I already warned you not to break my rules. Not only have you openly insulted me more than once in my own home, but you have the sheer audacity to also break my rules, doing so by attacking at least one member of my clan." Her voice was cutting. Sasuke simply showed no care or remorse for his stupid actions. Ruka, seeing this, only got angrier. "Do you not understand how serious this is, Sasuke Uchiha? Your actions nearly killed several civilians who are members of my village. I could legally kill you right now, as Lady Tsunade wouldn't be able to do a thing. Also, since you attacked 2 clan members and some of my villagers, I can punish you in any way I see fit." Ruka hissed. Venom was dripping out her mouth each time she said Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke's held anger and disbelief, but also triumphant smugness, believing that she can't touch him because he's an Uchiha. Unfortunately for Sasuke, Ruka saw that belief and was happy to sadistically crush it. Sasuke Uchiha, in result of your foolish actions, I hereby sentence you to. Ruka, however, didn't get to finish her speech because she was interrupted by someone, and she wasn't happy about it, until she saw who had called out. Hold it! Yelled out a voice that seemed vaguely familiar, but none of the rookies or senseis, teachers, could place it. When they saw Ruka's head turn to snap at the interruption, they followed her line of sight. There in front of them stood Naruto in all his wore his infamous black trench coat, over his dark red muscle shirt. He wore his ANBU-style black pants, with black combat boots. His mask that he is famous for sat hooked on his left hip. He had his silver earring hanging from his right ear. For once he wasn't wearing his gloves and his leg wasn't taped. His katana appeared to be missing as well. His sapphire blue eyes sparkled at his wife in happiness as usual, however they lost any shine looking at the Konoha 12 and the senseis. He could easily see they hadn't changed much. He wasn't sure how to feel about the presence of Kakashi, Sasuke, or Sakura yet. His gaze traveled to his wife, who looked less than impressed at his interruption. Her eyes, however, told him to carry on. Now, love, before you possibly execute Sasuke and remove the Konoha 12 and their respective senseis, I'd like to actually talk to them. His voice was sounded a tad cheeky, and if it had been anyone else, Ruka would have shown them why she was called the Crimson Blood Princess for their disrespect. Unfortunately for Ruka, or fortunately for Naruto, he wasn't anyone else. A sigh came from Ruka's lips as she nodded her consent, causing Naruto to smile brilliantly. Great! Now, Naruto began to speak towards everyone. When he was interrupted. Fight me, dope! Demanded Sasuke with arrogance. The Leaf Village residents wondered how Naruto would respond and was studying him closely. Naruto, however, just decided to ignore him. Now, as I was saying, Naruto began to speak before being interrupted once more. This caused Naruto to wonder if this is how Ruka felt when he interrupted her. Don't ignore me! I demand that you fight me! Said well-yelled Sasuke. Naruto sighed and decided to simply end it. Naruto turned to face Sasuke. No, said Naruto blankly before turning back towards everyone else. Just as he began to speak again, he was once again cut short. No? You afraid to fight me, dope? I figured you'd still be a pathetic weakling after all this time. Sasuke sneered. Everyone from Konoha looked embarrassed and thought Sasuke was an idiot, except Sakura, of course. Ruka looked extremely amused at his comments, Kaido and Kubanashi looked affronted, and Naruto rolled his eyes. He, along with Ruka, was trying to rile him up, and both knew it would work. I'm not afraid to fight you, Sasuke, Naruto stated without care. Before going back to ignoring the grotesque man, until like always Sasuke said something stupid. Of course you are. Otherwise you'd fight me. That's fine, you pathetic loser. Run back and hide behind your whore of a wife. He sneered out. Though internally he knew he won and smirked triumphantly. However, Naruto wasn't riled up at all. No. Naruto smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. He decided to give Sasuke a taste of his own medicine. How? That's easy. By telling him the truth. Trying to rile me up won't work, Sasuke. Why won't I fight you? That's an easy one. Naruto walked right up to Sasuke, an amused grin held up on his face, all the while looking directly into Sasuke's eyes. You're no worth it. With that he turned back towards everyone else. Everyone from Konoha had to pick up their jaws. They hadn't been expecting that reaction. Like I had been saying. He pauses for interruptions, grateful when Kaido discreetly knocked Sasuke out. Here's what will happen. Sasuke will be locked up in our prison, both Lady Osorobiki and I will go to meet with your Lady Hokage, and then we may come to an agreement. Until then Sasuke will remain here locked up. Before you argue, he attacked 2 members of our clan, verbally insulted the head of said clan more than once. This isn't a bargain or deal, this is what will happen. Do I make myself clear? Naruto spoke authoritatively. Konoha nodded, knowing there was nothing they could do. Naruto's smile returned. Good. Contact your Lady Hokage. It was an experience meeting you all again, said Naruto cheerfully, before disappearing completely. Chapter 10: The Return. It was a few days later that a tired and ragged rookie 12-2 and their senseis stood extremely nervous in front of the Hokage's desk. None of the ninja met the gaze of Lady Tsunade as they stood before her to give their report. Tsunade didn't even have to be a legendary ninja to know something was wrong and was quickly losing her patience with the reluctance for anyone in front of her to tell her anything. Would anyone like to explain to me why I have a ninja missing and somehow have the rest back early? Tsunade asked with her voice calm with an undertone of pure threat. Her hands had perched together under her chin as she stared at the ninjas in front of her. After several long quiet moments, Tsunade's patience ran out. Now, she demanded harshly. It was with that order Kakashi caved and explained everything that had occurred. So you're telling me, not only did you insult the head of the Osorobiki clan, you discovered that Naruto is the Kushoku no Kage, Crimson Shadow, but is also married to the Beneheim, Crimson/Blood Princess, who is also the Osurabiki clan head. Naruto has 4 children. Sasuke is being held prisoner for attacking civilians in a foreign country, and Naruto and his wife are coming to see me? Tsunade asked a little too calmly. At everyone's nod, she sighed. I need my bloody sake, Tsunade said with an exhausted tone, while running a hand down her face. The room remained quiet, waiting for Tsunade to give an order or dismiss them. Tsunade took a deep breath, chanting in her mind that she couldn't kill her ninja or leave Sasuke to die, no matter how much he deserved it. It wouldn't be worth the paperwork, or the whining those pesky elders. All of you leave now and do not. I repeat, do not speak to Naruto or his wife unless I say so. Report to me tomorrow for a new missive. Dismissed. Tsunade spoke in a no-nonsense voice. Everyone left in silence. Shizen came through the door with a bottle of sake and a cup in hand not long after. Tsunade looked at her apprentice and longtime friend in shock. I thought that you might need it. I heard everything through the door. Shizen spoke softly as she placed the items on the desk. As soon as the cup and jug touched the desk, Tsunade poured the sake, and within seconds the cup was empty, and Tsunade poured herself another. Naruto is an S-class ninja, said Tsunade in a dreary tone while looking into her sake cup. I know, stated Shizen in a slightly somber voice. He got married, Tsunade said to the same tone as before, not looking up. I know. He has children now. I know. He's got 4 of the pests. So he has. He became the co-head of a ninja clan and village. Yes, he is Lady Tsunade. He's all grown up now and he hates us, Tsunade said in despair, placing her head on the desk. I wouldn't say that he hates us, Lady Tsunade. He really only got angry after Sasuke insulted his wife twice, and nearly killed innocent civilians. Also, he is coming to the village. He wouldn't do that if he hated us, said Shizen, attempting to comfort her longtime friend and teacher. That's just it. Why is he coming here to the village? Said Tsunade, asked in a frustrated tone. Don't you want him to come back, Lady Tsunade? Of course I do, Shizen, but that doesn't mean I understand why he's coming here, Tsunade said, running a frustrated hand through her hair. What do you mean, Lady Tsunade? Asked Shizen, confusion in her tone and on her face. Naruto, even if he is a co-clan or village head, is still banished. He still technically can't come here without breaking his banishment order. However, we could have gone to his village, and he wouldn't be taking such a large risk, stated Tsunade. But didn't the council rescind his banishment order? Asked Shizen. It doesn't work like that. Even if the council rescinds the order, it has to go through the proper channels, and by the order of banishment Naruto is still banished, until he has been informed otherwise. The council added this stipulation in order to prevent him coming back if I found a way to remove the order later. Because Naruto would have to be informed as a ninja of the leaf. Which means I give the official order to a ninja and have them find Naruto and bring him back, or he has to enter Leaf Village land for him to find out. The order prevents him from entering anywhere near Konohagakure. The first option would most likely have been interfered with by the council or Danzo at the time, to prevent his return. Not only that, but he would have a better political advantage by us going to his village, stated Tsunade, her anger at the past actions of the council easily heard. Shizen nodded in understanding to her teacher's and longtime friend explanation. Tsunade looked up from her sake cup, looking at her apprentice with sad, tired eyes. I miss my Gaki so much, Shizen. I don't want to see him as an enemy. I don't want to see the resentment or bitterness he is sure to have in his eyes for my current and his former village. Yet I know I will. But Shizen, do you think he missed me as well? Asked Tsunade, her voice small and her eyes looking lost. Shizen simply walked over and placed a comforting hand on her teacher's shoulder in silence. In Tsukigakure, Sasuke sat in a small dark cell, having been placed there after being taken away by members of the Grim clan. The cell was made of concrete. Silver metal bars held the front of the cell. On the bars, door, walls and floor were seals that had been engraved. The seals suppress and absorb chakra, along with reinforcing the floor, walls and door of the cell. It made escape completely impossible from the inside or outside. The seals prevent digging or breaking, and to enter the cell you have to have been added to the seal matrix, and also know the unlocking code. Sasuke's cell was found in the dungeon, however, it was only the first floor. The dungeon in the Grim clan's manor contained 7 floors, however only 5 had cells. For all intents and purposes, Sasuke's cell was actually one of the nicest. However, not only was Sasuke not aware of this, he really wasn't truly aware of anything. Sasuke was too busy stewing in his anger at Naruto, but also was held together only by his arrogance. He believed that the leaf would get him out without punishment because they wouldn't want to displease the last Uchiha. The truth was that Sasuke did not realize that, in his own self-importance, would cause his downfall whenever that may be. Meanwhile, above the dungeon, the Osurabiki clan was holding a meeting. The room was large and similar to the previous room in everything, but there was less seats and a long rectangular table in the center. This was the council room, where all of the advisors met with the commander. However, unlike normal shoji, doors on both sides of the room were opened wide for the rest of the clan to gather. Naruto sat on the right-hand edge of the platform, leaning on the white wall. The council was gathered around the table and the clan was seated or standing around. Naruto looked up towards the normal entry door, his sapphire blue eyes automatically indicating to everyone else to settle. Just as Ruka entered the room in a graceful flourish. Her steps quiet and measured, holding the eyes of everyone, including her husband, until she reached the platform and sat with her legs folded beneath her. Her back was straight, the tips of her toes touched the floor, and her posture screamed serious to the clan. Usually Ruka sat with grace, elegance, and comfort, unlike today. Her eyes scanned the room, looking at all the faces before beginning her speech. As most are aware, we currently have a visitor sitting in our dungeons that have not been used in many years. Her voice was soft, it held clarity, and held the attention of everyone in the room. This guest is one Sasuke Uchiha from Konoha. He broke not only one of our sacred laws by attacking our civilians on a celebrated day of peace, but insulted my person multiple times. Her words sent mummers throughout the room, many angry at such crimes, others were shocked that someone would be so foolish. However, to those that were closest to Naruto were angry over who was residing in the dungeons rather than why. The council's eyes did not leave Ruka's face, nor did Naruto's. He will be staying until an appropriate punishment can be agreed upon with both myself and the Hokage Lady Tsunade. This means myself and a few others of my choosing will be traveling to Konoha, as soon as word is heard back from Lady Tsunade. You are not to touch or talk to the prisoner. There will be no arguments over this. I gather to inform you, not debate the matter. Until I return, I leave the clan in the hands of the council and Yugari. Dismissed. Ruka did not change her voice or posture the entire time she spoke. She continued steadily, ignoring the mutters and curses sent towards Sasuke Uchiha, as well as everyone's reluctance to her leaving the village. The clan still listened to every word and would obey her commands. No one, no matter how much they wanted to, would harm the Uchiha, nor would they argue. The second their leader had the word dismiss leave her lips, everyone did as she asked. However, unlike how she entered the room, her body relaxed and a small smile placed on her lips. It was also that moment, as the rooms cleared out, that everyone came to the same unanimous decision, indecent from their leader. If Konoha dared to harm their commander or her husband in any way, the Osurabiki, Grim, clan will rain down on them like hell itself had wanted it a destruction. As everyone left, Ruka let a breath of relief past her blood-red lips. She was glad neither the clan or council had argued. There were only two people remaining in the room, Ruka, herself, and Naruto. Naruto's deep sapphire blue eyes had not left her form since before she even entered the room. Within seconds, Ruka slumped and folded her legs so that they curled around her towards the left, leaning on her hip. There were a few seconds of silence before Naruto's soothing voice sounded. How many do you intend to come with us? As he spoke, Naruto moved to sit next to his wife. Ruka rested her head on his shoulder. 3, not including the kids, she replied, almost instantly. As Naruto wrapped an arm around her. I want you to come as the Koshoku no Kage, Crimson Shadow, and Masked, she continued, while Naruto raised an inquisitive eyebrow. I have no doubt gossip has already spread, but I believe that denial will still be held over fact. Plus, since Osurabiki don't do co-heads but more leader and right hand held at equal footing, I can have you as my official guard and have the others watch the kids, who need to experience another village that is different to our or a civilian one. Ruka explained to Naruto as he shifted her so that she was seated across his lap, in order to run his fingers through her hair without letting go. Plus intimidation factor, Ruka said, smiling, causing Naruto to laugh warmly. His eyes alight with humor, and his mouth set in a gentle, affectionate smile. So who are we dragging along? Naruto asked Ruka amusedly. Kubinashi and Kajoro to watch the kids up close and Saizo to watch from a distance. Ruka replied without a moment of thought. Naruto nodded. Good choice. They will protect the children fiercely, stated Naruto, trusting all of them without doubt. Both Naruto and Ruka knew that the talk with Lady Tsunade will either make or break Konoha. Ruka and Naruto both knew that the Leaf would want Naruto to fight for them, but Ruka decided to leave that choice up to Naruto. They had hyphenated their names for a reason. To show that they were equals in everything: clan, power, force, and choice. They were two halves of a whole. Ruka was the calm flow of a stream, while Naruto was the forceful rapids that could occur. Ruka calmed and tamed Naruto's rapid nature, and Naruto helped to shake up the constant calm of Ruka. They shared two clans, one name and one heart. And may Kami have mercy on anyone that tried to take that away, because Naruto, Ruka, and the Osurabiki clan will not. Chapter 11. Welcome back to Konoha. If anyone were to try and guess what attracted Naruto to his wife, They would probably say it was her jewel-like eyes or unusual hair color. However, if one was to ask Naruto, he wouldn't say it was either. If Naruto had to pick a physical aspect of what drew him to his lovely wife, he would have to say it had been her gentle, kind and understanding smile. He, of course, couldn't deny that her exotic eyes and hair hadn't caught his attention at first. Anyone would know that would be a lie. However, he himself wasn't captured by her beauty, her deep mind or never-ending compassion, until he saw her smile at him. Many would probably think that this was a flimsy attempt at hiding what they most likely thought was the actual truth, but for those that know him, they wouldn't doubt this at all. Naruto and his wife have been married for nearly 4 years and he has no intention of that changing. No one could ever doubt that Naruto loved his wife, no matter the reason of how and why. If someone were to ask Ruka why she agreed to marry Naruto, she would never be able to list only a single reason. Her list would be too long to articulate. What sparked her interest in her love was a simple thing. However, Ruka's mood would both blacken and fill with anger if one would try and dig deeper. Her heart would give a twinge of hurt at the memory of how she found the broken and despaired boy. She would recall the despairingly beautiful stormy eyes, his fragmented soul easily reflected. She would feel the warmth of nostalgia and pride when her love built himself up again, even better than before. So if one were to ask Ruka what made her fall for Naruto Uzumaki, she would say 3 words. His breathtaking soul, or even his heart and spirit. There is no doubt that anyone who saw or heard this would believe that Ruka will ever give up Naruto or let anyone else try. It was a bright and sunny day in Konoha is what many wished they could say. Unfortunately, this was not quite the case. The sky was a grayish blue, even though it was still rather warm. It was as if the weather of Konoha was waiting to see if the village pleased or angered Naruto. The gate guard sat stock straight, tense while also maintaining decorum. A nervous yet determined Tsunade stood just inside the gate. Alongside Lady Tsunade stood, a faithful and dutiful as ever Shizen, an energized guy, a lazy but secretly on point Kakashi, as serious and scary as ever Ibiki, and finally a very anxious Irika. The group stood to wait on edge for the Tsukigakure, Hidden Moon Village, delegation, hoping that Naruto, the son of Konoha and holder of the Will of Fire, would be along with them. Tsunade knew that today was the day that could make or break Konoha. The Leaf Village would never be able to stand against Tsukigakure in a war. Despite having a larger force, Konoha has been focused on quantity rather than quality when it has come to training and teaching shinobi over the past few years. Tsukigakure has nothing but quality. Nearly all of their forces have the skill equal to one or more of the Sannin. Let alone any single of the commanders that had the ability on par with or greater than any of the Kage. Ruka is no exception to this, and she wouldn't be surprised if Naruto was as well. The Leaf has only fought in 2 large wars, whereas Tsukigakure has fought in many more wars, skirmishes and battles than Konoha could imagine. However, unlike Konoha, Tsukigakure isn't arrogant in their abilities or power. They don't flaunt it around or allow it to delude them into superiority, as the Leaf did. Yes, Tsunade knew that if the council angered the couple, Konoha was doomed. Tsunade at least comforted herself that Danzo was executed not long after Naruto left, so at least he couldn't stir up trouble. On the other least comforting hand, the civilian council are going to be pissed about the obviously unprovoked assault or attack on the Uchiha, especially when they discover that Tsunade didn't tell them about it, and Naruto is married to the person that virtually took him as a political hostage. She knew that they'd probably screw up the negotiation, so badly that Sasuke will most likely be executed and the village razed to the ground. Irika was anxious and thrilled at the thought of seeing Naruto again. He took it hard when Naruto banished, and if it hadn't been of Iam, he didn't want to think what could have happened. From the day Naruto left until now, he always used to recall the small blonde sunshine of energy that couldn't sit still to save himself and his determination. He sometimes uses Naruto, or his pranks, as examples in his class. He hoped that Naruto was happy and also didn't hate him. He also wanted Naruto to say hello to Iam and share the news of their engagement. He also couldn't wait to meet his pseudo little brother's wife and children. It was time to see what kind of man the little hyperactive ball of sunshine he remembered had turned into. Eventually, they saw 4 adult silhouettes and 4 rather small shadows walking between them. The Konoha ninjas didn't dare blink as the black-shadowed human blobs moved closer toward them, and the light reveals the people they were waiting for. The Konoha group took in the sight of their former comrade and the joy at seeing him once more, even when they couldn't see his face and that he changed so much over the years. Naruto had been the first they'd seen. He was wearing his mask that was decorated in markings that they couldn't decipher. His single silver earring dangling from his right ear. He wore his signature black trench coat that differed from Ibiki's own. His red muscle shirt sat tightly to his now tall and large form without outlining his strength. Black customized umbu-style pants that had more pockets than necessary covered the tops of his black ninja combat boots. He has white tape wrapped tightly around his left leg and has a kunai holder on his left hip, while his shuriken holder sat on his right leg. His hands were clad fingerless black gloves to give his hands a better grip. On his back sat the katana that is known as Iron no Kizuato, Eternal Scar. It was red and white-handled, with a black sheath, and was rumored to have a unique black blade. The group of Konoha ninja were amazed at how grown-up and mature Naruto looked. Never in a million years when they heard Kakashi's report could they imagine him as he is now. It brought tears to both Tsunade and Shizen's eyes and pride within Irika's. The next person they saw after drawing their eyes away was Ruka Osurabiki. Well, that should be Ruka Osurabiki Uzumaki now, if what they'd learned was true. She was still as gorgeous as ever, her long knee-length silver and black hair picking up the sunlight making it almost sparkle. She was walking or gliding as graceful as ever, making it seem that she was floating rather than walking. Her black battle kimono sat off the shoulders and reached her calf in length. The long sleeves of the kimono covered up to the beginning of her dainty fingers. The kimono flared outwards in an upside-down V shape at the knees. The black kimono was outlined in silver and decorated with a purple and silver butterfly pattern. The sash that tied the gown was purple and was outlined silver with the rest of the kimono. The kimono fitted her like a glove, giving plenty of room for movement, while also emphasizing her curves and a generous bust. On her feet, she wore black ninja sandals. She wore no mask or jewelry, no makeup stained her face either. Her lips still held that natural blood-red coloring she was known for. She seemingly had no weapons on her person, but the Konoha ninja weren't fools. They were well aware she was a master at seals and probably had a very large number of weapons sealed on her person. Everyone there was amazed that the Naruto they remember could convince a girl like this to marry him. Her beauty was not exaggerated in the rumors they had heard about the Crimson Blood Princess, commander and head of the Osurabiki clan. They also knew her skill was even better than her beauty. The Konoha ninja knew to tread carefully with her. Their well-trained eyes eventually drifted down to the small girl holding Ruka's hand. The small girl was an exact replica of Ruka. She had Ruka's pale creamy skin and long black and silver hair. However, unlike her mother who kept her hair loose, the little girl kept her hair braided. She had other small differences from Ruka as well. Her eyes were a mix of sapphire and azure blue, and most drastically and obvious to all was the thin, very faint whisker marks that adorned her face. The girl was wearing a violet cheongsam chipao dress with white flowers, wearing black tights underneath. She had purple ninja sandals on her feet. The Konoha shinobi, especially the woman, thought that the little girl replica was adorable, and it made them wish a little for their own. Next to her was another girl. This one had sun-blonde hair with silver streaks giving it a platinum blonde look. Her hair was tied back in a ponytail style reminiscent to Ino's own. She had pure sapphire blue eyes sparkling like the gem they're colored after. On her face was the exact same thin whisker marks as the girl holding Ruka's hand. The blonde girl wore a light blue cheongsam chipao dress with no sleeves. The dress has an orange vine pattern. She had black bike shorts underneath. She was wearing blue ninja sandals like her sister. Walking on the left side of the girl was a slightly taller boy. The boy had sun-blonde hair with black streaks. His hair is spiky and seems to reach to the top of the boy's shoulders. His hair spikes tilt to the right side of his head, making it shorter on the left. The boy had sharp and bright sapphire blue eyes. The face shape was a mix of both Ruka and Naruto, but the whisker marks were all his father. The boy was dressed in a dark green tank top with a black jacket. They found it rather adorable he matched his father, even if the jacket was far shorter. He had on black shorts and was wearing black ninja sandals. The style was practical and was good for blending in with foliage, good ninja wear. Simply looking at the boy, the Konoha delegation knew that this boy would grow into an amazing ninja one day without a doubt. It was, however, the last child that made them pause and suck in a breath. Because the last child was identical to a young Naruto in every way. The boy had spiky blonde hair which reached to his shoulders. His eyes were a bright azure blue that he inherited from his mother. He was as short as his sisters, as Naruto had once been shorter than anyone in his year. On his face were the exact same whisker marks as both his brother and father. He was also wearing Naruto's patterned sunny grin. He had on an orange shirt that was, thankfully, a burnt orange, not the fluorescent orange that Naruto had been famous for. He wore black shorts and ninja sandals. There was no doubt to anyone that this was Naruto's child. It took everything in them not to look amazed at the mini Naruto, and even more in Tsunade, Shizen and Irika not to smile at the nostalgic remembrance that the child's appearance brought them and the bittersweet feelings that it gave. Behind them traveled a tall man. He had blonde hair which, if looked at closely, had a layer of black underneath. He had warm amber eyes and had a black scarf around his neck. He wore an olive green traditional plain kimono, with an aqua jacket over top, and he had regular black ninja sandals. From Kakashi's report, this was Kubanashi. After finding out his name, appearance, and his odd weapon, they researched into him further. He was known as Kubanashi of the Red String, Akai Haimo no Kubanashi. In the bingo book, he has a large bounty, especially for a simple vassal. Standing next to him stood a woman. The woman had long wavy brown hair tied up in a single ponytail with half of it covering her face. She had light green eyes on her face. The woman was wearing a white and pink dress kimono with flowers decorated the bottom. The kimono highlighted her voluptuous features, such as her large bust and curves. The kimono also covered her feet, making it unable to tell what type of shoes she was wearing. The woman was beautiful, that was no doubt, but her beauty fell slightly short of Ruka's own. After finding more information on Kobayashi, it was discovered that this woman was known as Kijoro and was considered to be a partner, or at the very least an associate of Kobayashi. Her name in the bingo book is Kijoro of the Demon Hair, Onika no Kijuru, and occasionally uses Tez-san, fan, as weapons. As they walked closer to the gate, a shadow dashed out of the treetops, nothing but a shadowed blur to those from Konoha. Their eyes widened from worry that this could be a possible assassination, but the Tsukigakure delegation didn't even flinch. Now walking on the other side of the blonde, amber-eyed man, stood a tall black-clad man. He had black hair and dark green eyes. The man was lean but appeared to have muscle. He wore all black, both his forearms were wrapped in white bandages. He had black gloves covering his hands. On his back sat a very large sword that was also covered in white bandages, instead of a sheath. This is who they recognized to be Saizo. He was a ninja taught in the very old ways and was extremely skilled at assassination and sabotage. However, the sword he keeps on his back is not for show. It is rumored that he once fought all of the 7 swordsmen of the mist into a standstill, and the only reason the fight was a standstill is because Saizo got bored and decided to leave. Saizo of the Heavenly Darkness, Ten no Yami no Nishikura, was not a man to be trifled with, especially when he has been compared to a demon in human skin. The Konoha delegate took the time to file their observations away into their minds and compare it to the information they already had. All of them knew that the chance of these people helping or joining them was slim. The chances that Naruto would be pleased to see them was very small, and the chances that the civilian council would screw the whole thing up was extremely large. The Naruto clone probably would not help in that regard. This was something that struck all of the ninjas with curiosity. Why bring their children? It was strange that they would bring their children into a possibly hostile environment. Another thing that was weird was that they only had a group of 5 adults. Usually, a delegation from another country would send more. It was something else to add to the pile of things that kept and would continue to keep the Konoha ninja on edge. Eventually, they made it to the gate where Tsunade and Ko moved to greet them. This was the usual protocol for welcoming another country's people into their village for a political reason. However, before they could utter a word, Naruto partially removed his mask so it was only covering the left side of his face. There was a light in his jewel-hard eyes, a look at Iruka would remember that Naruto would get when he was about to prank somebody. "Hello, Granny Tsunade," spoke Naruto, with a giant smirk only visible on one half of his face, making everyone from Konoha pause and think we are so doomed. Chapter 12, A Meeting to Remember. As both parties made their way through the village, Tsunade and Iruka watched as the Tsukigakure group huddled together. Changing their formation so that Kobayashi flanked left, Kijoro took to the right and Saizo stood behind, encompassing the children in the center, keeping them from any curious eyes. However, the small blonde boy was kept close to whom Tsunade knew to be Naruto. Naruto had replaced his mask, keeping it stuck to his face using chakra. It wasn't hard to guess why Naruto didn't want the villagers to see him, or his children, and it was something that caused both pain and understanding to Tsunade and Iruka. Tsunade was just glad that he didn't have a grudge against her, proven by his usage of Granny Tsunade. It was a name she usually hated and would have hit anyone else for using, but in this one instance, she was glad to hear it. It was actually the only thing she'd heard from Naruto since his arrival. Straight after the obvious statement of forgiveness and non-blame, Lady Ruka Osurabiki Uzumaki asked to head to the tower. Everyone could see the ploy for what it was, preventing the village from knowing his identity and lowering the chances other children being spotted. It was the protective instincts of a mother and a wife at their finest. It didn't take long to reach the Hokage office, even with all the curious stares they drew, along with a few lustful ones. All of them were quite good looking after all. As soon as they entered, Tsunade dismissed her Anbu hidden in the room. As soon as they had exited and she was sure no one was watching, she glommed Naruto, very nearly squeezing him to death in the process with her strength. On the plus side, even if Tsunade managed to suffocate him, she was a medical expert and could easily resuscitate him. Luckily, for everyone involved, she realized him when he started to go blue. Then after regaining his breath, he removed his mask and placed it on his hip, removing it completely. "Oh, Gaki, look at you all grown up and you are married with kids. Did you know you're the first of your former graduating class to have kids? How have you been? How did you and Lady Osurabiki meet? There's just so much I've missed because of that stupid council." Tsunade sped the words out of her mouth without so much as breathing. It was extremely unusual to regular Tsunade. However, it wasn't every day the boy she saw of a son return after a 7-year-long absence. "Lady Hokage, perhaps it would be better to conduct business first? I know you would like to reconnect with my husband. However, until our official business with the leaf is concluded. Naruto, otherwise known as the Kushoku no Kage, the Crimson Shadow, is here as my personal bodyguard and member of my village. Ruka intervened before either crying or another round of questioning began. She had kept her voice polite and even had a small smile on her face despite the fact she wanted the actual village to burn to the ground in a fiery, never-ending chaotic devastation. Tsunade meanwhile had considered her proposal and sighed, before nodding in acceptance and taking a seat. Ruka followed her lead, taking a seat in front of the desk. Naruto chose to stand just slightly behind her, as both a sign of protection but also as one to show his loyalty. Naruto Uzumaki would stand by his wife and clan head, even against his former home. Both Ruka and Tsunade sat with their eyes locked in silence, both waiting for the other to break their silence. In the end, it was Tsunade. Lady Osurabiki, I have already heard the reports from the teams I sent, concerning their time within Tsukigakure. Tsunade would have continued if she had not been interrupted by Ruka. Speaking of which, Lady Hokage, why did you send such a large force to my village? A single team could have done the same type of job, possibly one more equipped to handle diplomatic assignments. Ruka knew full well that the end of that sentence made her a tad hypercritical, considering that she'd basically insulted everyone on that mission. Which, by regular standard, was definitely not a diplomatic solution. Tsunade's eyes twitched slightly, showing her annoyance at not only being interrupted but also her ability to assign mission correctly. The numbers were due to a multitude of reasons. Mostly because they were charged with finding an S-rank ninja. The ranking alone usually screams run away if seen. All of my ninjas have all been under a lot of pressure and stress as of late, especially the Konoha 11. The tension needed to be gone for them to be effective, stated Tsunade, trailing off. Only for Ruka to easily follow her train of thought. So, sending them off on a possible wild goose chase to my village, which is wrapped under as a supposed diplomatic task in meeting me, which just happened to be timed with our festival, would give them some R&R. All without your pesky elders and council to nag you over it because it is an actual mission. That is rather sneaky of you, Lady Hokage. Please continue with your earlier statement, now that this issue is resolved, stated Ruka with a smirk on her lips, a new appreciation for the old Senju princess. Tsunade smirked back before schooling her face and continuing. Right, as I was saying, I have already heard the reports from the teams I sent, concerning their time within Tsukigakure. I would, however, like to hear your version of events so that this matter can be cleared up quickly. Tsunade spoke with a blank face and respectful tone. Ruka eyes the Hokage carefully and calmly before nodding. Very well, Lady Hokage. If my version of events is what you want, then that is what you shall get. Ruka moved back in her seat for comfort. Tsunade internally sighed, knowing that that movement usually meant a lengthy report or discussion. She wished she had Sasuke right now. After your Konoha teams arrived, they quickly delved into trying to find the Kushoku no Kage, the Crimson Shadow. This failed rather swiftly, due to the loyalty my villagers have. They only managed to revive barely anything of worth. This, along with the information they had required, caused the leader Kakashi Hatake to arrange a meeting with me. They, of course, had already met me unknowingly when I picked my children up from the park. Hatake and the elder sensei Zasuma Sarutobi and his wife, Kurina Yahi Sarutobi, were polite to my steward and to me. Several others of the group also showed good diplomatic behavior, included Hinata Hyuga, Eno Yamanaka, the ninja hound Akameru, and Choji Akimichi. Shikamaru Nara and Shino Abirame remained neutral, while Might Guy, Niji Hyuga, Tenten and Rock Lee remained in the village. Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno Uchiha and Kiba Inuzuka were forced into being respectful. Kiba Inuzuka was leering at me, while Sasuke and Sakura Uchiha believed to be above my station, in my own village. The topic of the Kushoku no Kage, the Crimson Shadow, was the focus of the situation, after the discovery that he is linked to someone that was in Konoha. After that, I questioned as to why I should set up a meeting. Kiba Inuzuka began shouting and being, although disrespectful, it was nothing that hadn't been expected. The topic of what value would it be worth to my clan then started entering the discussion when the Uchiha rather blatantly stated that he was basically stating that he would impregnate someone with the clan to give my clan an Uchiha. This, although I was highly unimpressed with and anger had begun to rise, I would have let the matter drop. However, it was the fact that he clearly insulated that it was I that he would bestow this honor. Even after I plainly warned him that I was a married woman and did not take kindly such a statement, he called me a filthy whore that should be grateful he offered his seed to me. I just only managed to prevent my guards from killing him on the spot. A second later, and it would have been his corpse sent back to you. Ruka narrowed her eyes at the Kage. Name-calling does not bother me, Lady Tsunade. I have been in wars and skirmishes. I am thicker-skinned than that. She spoke with conviction. Before telling them to leave my home, I informed your team that I would tell the Kushoku no Kage, the Crimson Shadow, that they wanted to speak with him. I also warned all of them to follow my rules or face my consequences. Ruka's voice was hard, almost cold, and her eyes were solid. Then barely a day later, Sasuke Uchiha starts a fight in a crowd, busy street, in the middle of our peace festival, and not only attacked one of my clansmen, but innocent civilians. Then proceeded to insult both my husband and myself again. Trust me on this, Lady Hokage. I was about to give the execution order when my husband stepped in. As my husband suggested and requested, Sasuke Uchiha is now locked up and I kicked your ninja out of my village. That, Lady Hokage, is what occurred. My opinion is that you have an unstable spoiled brat that thinks his name will kill opponents for him. And I would have either killed or stamped that out years ago. Ruka finished, not feeling guilty at all for voicing what she believed or felt. Meanwhile, Tsunade knew before Lady Osurabiki began that she would end up needing sake. That need more than doubled before Ruka had even finished. This is why she wanted to execute him years ago, but no, the council wouldn't let her. The advisors said it'd be bad for the village. Now she just wished that she had executed all of them together. She sighed and then quickly drew herself up. Oh why did she agree to this job in the first place? Lady Osurabiki, it is clear from all versions I have heard that Sasuke Uchiha is the one at fault. I humbly apologize for all the trouble and offense his actions and careless words have caused. We have always held the Osurabiki clan and Tsukigakure in high esteem. It is the Leaf Village's oversight about his attitude. Please allow us to correct it for ourselves, stated Tsunade humbly and respectfully. Many Kage would feel it beneath them to apologize to anyone, let alone a clan village. However, Tsunade wasn't a fool and believed that if the Beneheim came to another Kage's village under similar pretenses, that they would scramble to make her happy, even if that meant apologizing. Ruka Osurabiki was a ninja on par with the three Sannin, in their prime. Hell, it is rumored that no one has actually seen the full extent of her power, so if the woman who could personally level your village came knocking, you answer the door, no matter what. I thank you for your kind words and meaningful apology, Lady Hokage. When Ruka responded, Tsunade discreetly let out a breath. She had worried that this would be difficult. The Osurabiki, Grim, clan have always protected their own, even from words. Sasuke's words would look as if he was insulting the whole clan, and Ruka would no doubt be more protective of her husband and children than anyone else. Sasuke Uchiha ignited a fire best left unlit, and Kami, God forbid, Ruka Osurabiki demand Sasuke's head in recompense for the insults to her clan and village. The council will have kittens. Let alone what else she could demand from the village due to the insults towards her husband and children, including the heir to the Osurabiki clan. Any sense of relief soon shattered when Tsunade heard Ruka's next sentence. However, Lady Hokage, how can I trust that you will provide proper punishment towards Sasuke Uchiha? After all, he betrayed this village and was barely scolded. Plus, my clan members really want to handle him themselves. I had to place an order out to prevent them from harming him while I am gone. On top of that, Lady Hokage, my clan elders and advisors are telling me that they want payment towards the slight against my clan, and there are also the civilian citizens I need to consider. In other words, Lady Hokage, why should I give him to you? Ruka stated calm, almost as if she'd been talking about the weather. Tsunade, on the other hand, was internally sweating. I understand your desire to have your clan punish him personally, Lady Osurabiki. However, Sasuke Uchiha is a Konoha ninja. For that reason alone, it must be the Leaf that carries out his punishment. Would a compromise of some sort be acceptable to you? Tsunade spoke, sounding convicted and strong, even if she was begging Ruka to accept internally. Very well, Lady Hokage, what do you suggest this compromise be? Stated Ruka, not even pausing to consider the offer. Little did Tsunade know that Ruka was aware that this is the route Tsunade would take to please her clan. The Osurabiki clan can choose Sasuke Uchiha's punishment on top of what I shall be giving him. The punishment decided by your clan must come through me first, and it cannot be suicidal or career-ending. The Leaf will pay all damages caused by Sasuke's fight, and both the village and the Uchiha will send money to the civilians that were nearly harmed by Sasuke. Please believe me when I say that Sasuke Uchiha will not get a slap on the wrist for his behavior, stated Tsunade, knowing that this is the best she could offer the angry clan head. I accept those terms. However, I would like to add something of my own. Sasuke Uchiha's Sharingan will be sealed, not only until his punishment is decided but also during it. The Sharingan can only be unsealed when he has completed his punishment. He should also not be allowed to take missions until then either, Ruka declared with confidence and authority. Tsunade nodded in agreement. She found that to be fair. Anything else you wish to add before we form an agreement? Questioned Tsunade, not realizing she would wish that she'd kept her mouth shut afterwards. Ruka blinked as she remembered something. Yes, actually, I want a formal apology from Sasuke Uchiha once his punishment has been completed. If he does not, he shall be punished again. This will continue until he apologizes, Ruka added in, leaving off her thoughts, that after so many times she'll simply extract a pound of flesh in place of what he owes. Tsunade voiced her agreement to this clause as well. Now, it is time to answer my questions, Naruto Uzumaki Osurabiki Namikaze, Tsunade demanded, looking towards a certain masked blue-eyed blonde. Chapter 13, I've heard your plight. Naruto removed his mask and blinked at the Hokage. Ruka looked similarly confounded. They looked at each other and had a quick conversation through their eyes. Could you repeat that name, Granny? Naruto asked, confused by what she called him. After all, it was possible he'd misheard. Unlikely, but still a possibility. I said Naruto Uzumaki Osurabiki Namikaze. Tsunade spoke, wondering why he had her say his name. I think you need to stop drinking, Granny. You're adding things that don't exist in my name. Where did you get Namikaze from anyway? Naruto spoke to his fellow blonde and mother in all but blood. Although he could swear he'd heard it somewhere before. Tsunade, however, realized Naruto really had no clue about who he was. Namikaze was your father's name, Naruto. Your heritage leaked out after you left the village. Your father's name was Minato Namikaze, otherwise known as the Yellow Flash or the Fourth Hokage. Tsunade cleared up. Surprised he didn't know, after all pretty much the entire elemental nations did. The news was quickly leaked after the village found out. The hidden villages had been scouring the land to find the fourth's heir. I am the son of the Yellow Flash? What the hell, Granny? Why was I not told this? In fact, while we're on the subject, why was I never told that the Uzumaki was a clan? Naruto ranted, far more calmly than his younger self ever would have. But let's be fair here, not every day you find out your idol was your dad and that you had been lied to all your life. Yes, Naruto, the fourth was your father. You weren't told because let's be honest, back then you could keep such a thing to save yourself. Plus people all over the place would be trying to kill or capture you. As for the Uzumaki thing, I assume it's a similar reason, the third never wrote down anything about it. Besides, the Uzumaki were normally talked about in the academy. Tsunade said, half exasperated at the council but also swearing from hell to high heaven at the third, the council and anyone else involved with this bloody conspiracy. Kami, Granny, stop adding more names to the one I already have. I am lucky enough as it is that I only have to sign the relative documents involving that name. Like Uzumaki clan issues at Naruto Uzumaki that signs. The only reason Ruka and I hyphenated was to join the two clans together. Naruto spoke, groaning. Thank God he and his kids are his only clan members, because otherwise, he'd have a hell of a lot more of that bloody paperwork. Like for his wife Ruka. Anyway, brat, no more dodging, it's time or an explanation now, said Tsunade, who was not about to let this juicy gossip about her brat get away. Naruto sighed at his pseudo-mother's behavior. What would you like to know? Asked Naruto, knowing that there was no way to get out of his fellow blonde's questioning. Besides, he had some questions of his own for his granny. Well, when did you meet Lady Osurabiki and how long have you been married? Tsunade questioned curiously, internally jumping up and down at getting all the gossip before anyone else in the village. I met Ruka a few months after my forced relocation. She found me half-starved, in a nowhere village, and introduced herself. She asked me to travel with her when she left. I agreed. Eventually, we got together romantically and remained that way. We've been married for roughly 4 years. Naruto spoke clearly and precisely, but not revealing any important or specific details, like the village name or exact dates. This is so their movements couldn't be traced by anyone that is either listening in or finds out about this story. Naruto was once a Konoha ninja, therefore, he knew how quick the leaf rumor mill was. But it was nothing to the Tsukigakure and Osurabiki clan rumor mills. Since you literally live with the people you're trying to keep secrets from. Tsunade blinked a bit at the new information. She honestly wasn't expecting such evasive and yet factual. The plus side, she was doing a mini chibi dance in her mind for learning this first. Added to the fact that her gaki, brat, is really married is fantastic. Granny Tsunade, I have my own questions for you. How bad is it for Konoha that you had to bring an unknown S-rank ninja to fight for you? This is not normal. Why was my presence here was something you were desperate for? If you suspected me to be at Tsukigakure, you could have easily written a letter to Ruka and asked her to pass on the message or extra letter. Hell, you could have done that at all of the major villages in case I had been seen there. Instead, you send a retrieval team. Naruto asked, knowing there is something more to this than she had stated. Excused to give her ninja a vacation or not, the procedures Tsunade used were very odd and not normal. Especially sending a retrieval team that had no knowledge other than a vague description and a bingo book entry. Tsunade sighed loudly and looked like she aged an extra 40 years with his questions. The Akatsuki has teamed up with Odo, Hidden Sound Village, and IWA, Hidden Rock Village. All three are getting ready to declare war on the Leaf Village. My ninjas are not equipped to deal with multiple S-rank ninjas, a Sannin and a Kage plus all of their combined forces. I figured having an S-rank that has killed at least 2 confirmed Akatsuki members could help us, stated Tsunade. She knew more than anyone that no one had the right to ask her gaki to fight for them. They banished and threw him away until it was convenient. Whether they knew that he was the Kashoka no Kage, Crimson Shadow, or not. I know I have no right to ask this of you, Naruto, but now that you've heard our plight, would you be willing to fight for this village one last time? Meanwhile, in the village, Naruto and Ruka's children were exploring, Kobayashi and Kijoro following behind them while Saizo discreetly followed behind them. The four children were amazed at the large village that looked far more industrialist than their home village, and eventually decided to play at a nearby park that Kijoro spotted. Both Kijoro and Kobayashi sat down a far distance to allow the kids playtime without crowding them. However, they maintained a distance that would allow them quick access if a threat occurred. Saizo occupied a tree nearby, lazily watching for danger. Kijoro smiled at their charges playing with the other children. The children often did this with the orphans of their own village. As Kobayashi pursued the area, he spotted a familiar pink-haired girl. Yes, girl, not a woman, because that is truly what Kobayashi saw her as. A girl who fancies herself in love and in a happy marriage to the man she desired, and yet never actually knowing or understanding what the emotion was. It had been something he had seen in the war and in several arranged marriages. Fake happiness and love to convince themselves that they snagged the best man. She had seen them as well and made her way over. Sakura had been wandering the village in deep thought. A few hours ago she had a talk with her friend Ino. After what Sasuke had done in Tsukigakure, especially the offer he had made the Osorobiki clan head, not to mention attacking innocent people, had caused her to question her love and dedication to Sasuke. In truth, Sasuke was not truly her husband, for they had never consummated their marriage, and she also knew he only married her because the council forced it. She concluded long ago that he wouldn't have even looked her way, if not for the order. However, she had dedicated to pleasing him, attempting to convince him that he could love her and she could be the wife he needed. Yet, no matter what she did, he was never happy and blamed her. Her thoughts had broken at the sound of children playing and laughing. That was something else Sasuke continued to deny her, a child. It was then that she noticed the vessel Kobayashi and the woman Kijoro. She decided to talk to them to find out what could happen to her husband under their laws, and because, to be completely honest, she was lonely, and they seemed friendly. After receiving warm smiles and a gesture to sit, she cautiously did so. Unknowing that this conversation would give her the answers she needed, even if they were not what she wanted to hear. Sakura did not know that by accepting her entire life and perception would change. Chapter 14. The Cherry Blossom. Kijoro and Kobayashi smiled warmly at the girl and gestured for her to sit with them. Anyone could tell she needed company. The three of them gave polite introductions and small talk before falling into a peaceful silence. It did not take long for Kijoro to break it. "What's on your mind, Blossom Girl?" Kijoro was never rude but also didn't conform to regular social standards unless necessary. Plus she knew informality is what was needed here. "Excuse me?" Sakura stuttered, being put off balance by the brazenness. While Kobayashi silently laughed. Kijoro simply blinked at her. "You obviously need to talk, so talk." "I just wanted to find out what could happen to my husband," said Sakura, unconvincingly. "Possibly, but there was something else on that mind of yours first, that has had you totally confused and even upset." Kijoro is and always has been insightful about people. Sakura looked surprised. "I had just come from a conversation with my friend Ino about Sasuke, and his recent actions has caused me to question, well, everything," stated Sakura in a sad and confused tone, as if she was exhausted down to her bones. Kijoro already figured that answer out for herself, but it's time that Sakura did as well. The blinders have started lifting, now it's time to rip them off. "Sasuke just has difficulty showing his emotions, and no marriage is easy. I just know that he loves me even if he doesn't express it," stated Sakura, trying to convince herself more than anything. Kijoro, however, just looked at her knowingly. "So it's normal for him to make an offer to impregnate other women, even married ones, even before he gave his own wife a child of their own?" Sakura looked at the woman gaping and befuddled. Yes, she knew exactly what Kijoro was speaking of. She was surprised that the woman knew about that particular incident. But that wasn't the reason Sakura was without a response. No, it was simply that Sakura didn't know what she could possibly say to that, and in all honesty, she didn't wish to actually know the answer to that question. Sakura was fully aware that it was Sasuke that prevented them from conceiving a child, nor did she know or understand why that was. In truth, Sakura desperately wanted a child. She saw many mothers and families with their children, and it made her jealous. She couldn't even do the midwife shifts at the hospital because it left her feeling bitter and miserable. "I'm also assuming that your love of Sasuke makes you a better person. It makes you more understanding of others and their needs, more respectful of others because of your position. He helps to calm you, rein in your temper, and helps you in your duties as a clan matriarch." Kijoro was being ironic and slightly sarcastic with her wording. She knew that the Uchiha did none of those things, and that his treatment and relationship with Sakura actually brought the worst out in her, and she could tell that Sakura did as well deep down. Sakura herself did not know how to answer that question either, mostly because Sasuke did none of those things. What duties was she even talking about? But the comment on respect, manners, and her temper made her flinch rather than make her angry. The look Kujoro gave her when bringing those topics up were direct indicators that she was speaking of her behavior in Tsukigakure. Sakura knew her behavior was abhorrent, and was extremely embarrassed in hindsight. She also admitted to herself that it wasn't just due to Sasuke that she treated the two that way. It was also due to her jealousy of Ruka and Naruto that sparked the way she spoke to both, seeing the dope, loser, idiot etc. have not only a loving and successful marriage but 4 children. Not 1 but 4, when Sakura herself didn't even have a single one despite being married to Sasuke for nearly 7 years. Sakura, I'm going to hit you with a few home truths that you will not like. Your love of Sasuke is simple over-the-top fangirlism. You had no true idea what love really was during your admiration of him. Sasuke is rather obviously not in love with you and you are fooling yourself because you don't want to admit it. My guess is that dear mummy or daddy pushed you into perusing him and were ecstatic when you married him, whether the village, its people and its ninja liked him, cared for him, or he was married to you or not. You in all your misery deny all of the obvious facts in front of you because you don't want to believe you gave everything up, friendships, training opportunities, your dreams, for a man who doesn't love you or wants you. Kujoro spoke bluntly and honestly as possible, knowing that until Sakura heard it from someone from the outside of it all, she would continue to close her eyes and cover her ears to the truth of it. The more Kujoro spoke, the more Sakura reflected and considered, and she didn't like what she saw. She acknowledged that Kujoro was right, and that caused her more pain than she thought it would. It was true, she gave up a lot for Sasuke only to be treated badly in return. She wanted family she could love and support, she wanted to become a good healer, and she wanted to succeed. All things Sasuke prevented her from doing. Sasuke wouldn't let her hang out with her former friends because they were beneath the Uchiha or become a doctor because she needed to be a good housewife. He also stated that she needed to treat everyone as below her because he and his clan have a reputation to uphold. It was her mother who was on the civilian council that put her name forward to marry Sasuke even though she had at the time been dating someone else. A part of her desperately wanted to deny all of it and stick her head into the sand. However, Sakura knew she couldn't do that to herself anymore. I don't like who I've become, and you are right, I'm not happy, I'm completely miserable. Sasuke isn't the person I thought he was and I don't know what to do about it, admitted Sakura quietly. Her voice was small, head down, it took a lot for her to say it, and if Kujoro didn't have good hearing she wouldn't have heard it at all. Kujoro just smiled gently. The first step forward is the hardest, and that step is admitting it to yourself. The second is deciding what to do. Tell me, Sakura, do you want to stay married to Sasuke Uchiha? Sakura's head snapped up at the voice. Her eyes went wide seeing Naruto standing there. Unnoticed by Sakura due to her shock, Naruto gave a signal to Kujoro and Kobayashi indicating he was a shadow clone. Sakura was still fumbling, unable to think or speak. Kujoro just took her hand gently as all 3 waited patiently for her answer. Sakura's mouth was frozen, along with her mind. She had no idea how to respond. She automatically squeezed Kujoro's hand in comfort. She didn't understand why these people cared for what she wanted. Especially after she treated Naruto and his wife so horribly. Sakura, if you want to leave Sasuke now, would be the time to do so. You can easily get out of it now as long as you're not pregnant. Naruto paused for Sakura to either know or shake her head. She obviously did the latter. Because you have not had a child yet, but he offered to give one to another village. Sasuke inadvertently gave you the right to divorce him. What he did is considered shaming and propositioning. As you, the wife, has not been given a child despite the ability to have them, Sasuke's offer not only shows the lack of respect he has of you but is legally considered wrong. As his wife, you have the right to leave him on honor grounds. Naruto watched Sakura's reactions closely, not wanting to upset her too much, but mostly just didn't want to overload her with information. As most people know, Naruto spent a majority of his time growing up in the Hokage's office. What people didn't know is that he had read every book in there, and used to help the old man with his paperwork. Sakura's mind was working at 100 miles an hour. Everything involving Sasuke and their ruined marriage running through her mind. She knew mentally and even in her heart that she should divorce Sasuke, but a part of her heart also throbbed in pain at the thought of doing so. She doesn't even know how to even get a divorce from Sasuke without the council, meaning her mother trying to prevent it. As a clan matter, you only need to go to the Hokage and she will listen to your reason. If she deems it legal and understandable, she will immediately file and enact it. Naruto somehow managed to read her mind again, just like when they were kids. Oh, why did she have to have been so stupid all that time ago? Naruto could have been hers. But she can tell how happy, in love and accepted he is now. Still, she didn't even know if she should leave him. Her entire life has been based on Sasuke, and when it wasn't Sasuke, her mother made her decisions for her. How is she even supposed to do? The only person, Sakura, that can make a single choice about your life and future is you. No one else ever has that right. So don't think about what others want you to do and make your own choice for your own future. The original is still at the tower with Ruka. They will help you if leaving is what you chose. The Naruto clone stated with certainty while looking at Sakura. Sakura had started crying this point, and she didn't even know what at. She was frustrated at simply not knowing what to do, or why he'd want to help her after everything. Why? Why are you helping? Why do you care? You should be angry with me or hate me after everything. But you're helping just why? She cried out. She really couldn't understand. He head and heart were confused at everything, and Naruto wasn't making sense. Nor was Kijoro helping and comforting her, or Kobayashi keeping a silent vigil while also keeping a compassionate presence. They shouldn't be doing these things for her after how has acted and behaved, and yet they were without so much as blinking. It didn't make sense. Ruka told the original about how you acted with our children, how delighted and kind you were, not at all angry at one of them literally knocking into Sasuke. That you questioned her about them and laughed at their antics. I'll honestly say if it hadn't have been for that, this conversation wouldn't be happening, but my children have a good judge of character, and they liked everyone, except for Sasuke. They did not like him in the slightest. My daughter Atsuko even said that your hair was the most beautiful shade of pink, compared it to sakura blossoms. Anyone that can make my child smile or even make Ruka happy can't be a truly bad person. Not even you. Naruto stated, looking directly into Sakura's eyes with a smile. Now let's see if you can be shot of the man with pink eye. Sakura knew without a doubt that this was the best decision of her life. She nodded with fire in her eyes. It was time to become Sakura Haruno, the girl who decided to be a ninja and save lives and remove Sasuke and Sakura Uchiha for good. Chapter 15, Naruto's Choice. Naruto and Ruka stood in the Hokage's office in a loss of words and thoughts. Naruto was having an internal battle with himself. On one hand, this village had been his home and there were people whom he still loved here. On the other, this village ruined him, treated him worse than an animal, and stripped away his only desire and dream in the world. Who cares if he ended up getting something even better? At the time, they only wanted to cause him pain and suffering. Naruto knew that once upon a time nothing would have stopped him bearing arms in defense of this village, however now he was incredibly hesitant to do so. Naruto Uzumaki was, in all honesty, a moron without many redeeming qualities, or at least that was how many saw Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto may have not been the sharpest knife in the drawer as a child or preteen, however, he had no means been completely stupid. Even though his education had been sabotaged on basically everything, even he knew an obviously intelligent demon was a dead one. True, he hadn't known he was a demon container at the time, but that didn't stop the villagers calling him one. It had been Ruka, his wonderful, darling wife, the fantastic gem flower that she was, that fixed the numerous holes in his education. She taught him so many things, from how to cook, to how to play the political game. What she couldn't teach she had or helped others teach him. She, along with Zen the clan's doctor, poison expert, and medic, figured out that his inability to sit still and overzealous behavior was due to him having too much chakra. As it turns out, his body was producing so much chakra, it was wildly trying to escape his chakra cores to make room for new amount coming in. This not only expanded his chakra capacity, but also created something similar to an adrenaline rush. It's also why he had constant terrible chakra control. It was less than the fact he had a large chakra capacity, although that does factor into it. It was more the behavior of his chakra that made it so difficult. So his Ruka, along with Zen, taught him how to properly meditate and settle his chakra. This also unintentionally helped him learn how to control the Ninetales' power, and how he unlocked his chakra chain bloodline. Zen had explained that the majority of Uzumakis had the ability to solidify their chakra into chains or sometimes other weapons. He theorized that the wild behavior of his chakra prevented it from ever solidifying enough to develop the chains until he calmed it down. He loved his new clan more than anything, except his wife and children. But he did still love his former home for all its flaws. He knew Ruka would agree to anything unless he agreed. She wouldn't break her neutrality if Naruto said no. To be fair, even he wasn't sure she would, even if he did say yes. There was just so much to consider, and he wasn't sure what to do. His heart and mind were at war within themselves. He didn't want to say no, but he also didn't want to say yes. He was luckily pulled out of his mental deliberation when Ruka spoke to him. Do you mind getting a clone to check up on the kids and get an update from Kobayashi, Kijoro, and Saizo? Ruka looked at him with a small glint that he recognized as a concern. Ruka would never smother her children or act as if she was deeply worried about them unless they were in danger or missing. But she secretly worries, and Naruto can always tell. Tsunade would never pick up on it. It was just something you develop the ability to do when you love them and know them so well. So Naruto simply smiled at her gently, and seamlessly created a shadow clone without a single hand seal. When it appeared, it immediately took off to follow his orders. Ruka's eyes gave a hidden appreciative look. Honestly, Naruto loved his wife's bright eyes and the expressions they could make. Despite being a ninja, clan head, and pretty much mercenary, Ruka would rarely hide any of her emotions or expressions, and after being with her for 7 years, Naruto could even read the hidden ones. Naruto had obviously learned a lot over the years due to Ruka, not only in life and social skills but in fighting too. The bingo book entry that the elemental nations hasn't even gotten most of his skills in it. Naruto by this point in life has mastered sealing, his chakra chains, and the nine tails. In fact, the Kyuubi and he were now good friends, and Kurama, Kyuubi's name, is rather fond of Ruka as well and had taught him how to use his chakra to regenerate himself as the fox does. He has practically mastered his chakra control and he even has fox-style sage mode. After leaving Konoha, Naruto had to give up the Toad contract because they are allied with Konoha. When he befriended Kurama, the fox told him where to find the fox contract. Members of the clan also taught him different taijutsu styles and kenjutsu which allowed him to create his personal edged blade style. Even though his wife could still kick his ass in kenjutsu, he was nearly a master in that as well. He has mastered his three elemental styles: wind, water, and lightning. This, along with his massive, over Kage level chakra capacity, allows him to use large combo ninjutsu. Not only did Zen fix his chakra issue but also his malnutrition from his childhood starvation and bad eating habits. Kurama had been converting the massive amount of ramen into nutrient. This, however, was only a temporary solution and had stunted his growth. Thankfully, Zen was able to reverse all of it with his herbal remedies along with correct all the poorly healed injuries he had from when he was still in Konoha. He also learned how to determine if something was poisoned and how to identify different types of poison and how to treat them. He also learned basic non-chakra healing. He can never learn how to heal someone using chakra because Kurama's chakra naturally mixes with his own, making it slightly corrosive. He can, however, act as a chakra battery to a healer. A technique that not even Tsunade had thought of trying before. Naruto knew that after all of his consideration on this, no matter how much he loved his birth village or his new one, that there was only one answer that he could give Tsunade that would be true to him and his heart. He only hoped that his darling wife didn't think less of him for making it. He breathed deeply before he responded. The room had been silent since Ruka had asked him to make a shadow clone, so his breath had been heard by all. He looked at Tsunade to see so much hope in her eyes. It was devastating to see his mother figure so desperate. He looked to his wife out the corner of his eye and received a reassuring and warm look from hers. Her message was clear: do what you think and feel is right, I'll support you either way. And that was the only look Naruto needed to respond to Lady Tsunade's question. Lady Tsunade. Naruto looked at the woman whom he saw as a mother to him, and tried to ignore the hopefulness he saw. He clenched his fists, and all his muscles tensed as he stated his next words: I cannot in good faith or conscience fight for Konoha in any way. As much as I loved my home village despite my treatment and banishment, I cannot trust your ninja with my or my comrades' safety. I must also stand by my new home and village who are neutral in this war. There he said it. It had killed him to do so, to crush her hope. But Naruto was being honest in his entire statement. He simply couldn't trust Konoha to watch his back or the lives of his clansmen. His clansmen were not only his team but family, and as Kakashi taught him, protecting your team came before anything and anyone, including a mission. If living in Konoha had taught him anything in his ruined education, it was you can't trust Konoha to watch the demon brats back because they want him dead more than you, and he'll be damned if his clansmen died because it was time to say goodbye to the last tendrils from his heart to Konoha because Naruto Uzumaki isn't its protector anymore. No matter how much it breaks his heart. Chapter 16. Two halves make one whole. There are a lot of stories, factual and fictional, that Naruto and Ruka tell their children. Ruka tells them legends of the Osurabiki and Uzumaki clans. Naruto tells them stories of his adventures and missions. There is, however, one story Naruto will never be able or willing to tell his children. How he met and fell for their darling mother, Ruka. The reasons are not because of any lack of information or love, either is it due to lack of interest or adventure. No, the reason Naruto will never tell his children is selfishness and an unwillingness to lie. Neither Naruto or his wife gloss over details when telling any true story. If they need to edit the story, then the kids aren't ready to hear it. It's that simple. However, the how, why, and when of Naruto and Ruka's love story is not something Naruto ever wants to tell his children. He never wishes his children to know of how weak and darkened he had been. How their loving and bright father almost ceased to exist due to the shattering of his heart and the tatters of his dreams. So yes, Naruto decided to be selfish rather than tell his children that their father had almost given up, something he had always taught and pressed into his children to never do. In any case, it is not so surprising that if Naruto was unwilling to tell his children the story, why would he tell Tsunade anything other than what he had? It had been 6 months after his banishment, and Naruto had been living on the streets. He had been unable to find work to afford things like shelter, food, and clothing. It is not unsurprising since all he knew how to do was be a ninja and lacked any skills in reading or writing. Lack of food is something Naruto was sadly used to. How could he not be when the villagers tried to starve him by giving him rotting food and overcharging him for it? However, the elements were wearing him down with nowhere to stay. Huddled between boxes as he was, he knew he looked pathetic. Originally, Naruto was determined to survive and force Konoha to see what they had lost. But Naruto couldn't join another village because of his burden. Even he knew they'd just extract the fox and place him into someone from their village. So he was left to wander. The problem with such a thing is that he had no type of income and barely any money. Which led to his current situation, nearly a month with no food and even longer without any kind of accommodation, has led his body into a deteriorating state. The only reason he has lasted this long is the Kyuubi. It has been using its chakra to prevent his body from wearing down as quickly as a normal person. Using its chakra as nutrients to prevent him from deteriorating quickly, giving him more time to save himself. Unfortunately, his body could not hold out much longer and his muscles were slightly atrophied from lack of movement. Naruto knew that he would not hold out for longer than another 6 weeks at best, and for once he didn't mind giving up. It was sunset when she found him, his bright blue flower. She had simply stumped across him after seeing his faded orange pant leg sticking out from the corner of her eye. How could she not go over and make sure that his person was okay? Her mistake was believing that his physical state would be her concern. Her heart broke when she saw his broken gaze and she was furious that such potential was wasting away. She had been trained in everything she could be since she could walk by her father and teachers, but the most important lesson her father had taught his daughter was spotting potential and to never waste it. Ruka could tell his shadowed eyes had once been bright and his dulled hair vibrant. His mouth had no place being in a frown, and his body should not have been so thin and small. She could see where muscle had once been and how he watched her movements ever so minuscule without being obvious. So Ruka did the one thing she could, smiled and reached out a hand. Barely 2 weeks of traveling together, Ruka realized Naruto could read or write correctly, and promptly started to teach him. Ruka luckily had an endless amount of patience when it came to teaching, mostly due to being used to it by helping at the Tsukigakure orphanage. It also helped that Ruka usually found Naruto's odd antics funny, thus allowing her to maintain her calm rather than become frustrated. She also helped Naruto with his chakra control and thus helping his energetic and impatient manner. He had never known that his large chakra reserves could create such things. Ruka simply taught him to rein in his wild free-flowing chakra, which turned it into a steady flowing river rather than the whirlpool tsunami it had been. Doing so improved his calm and patience and allowed him to concentrate on what she was teaching him. Turns out Naruto's chakra reserves meant that he should have been taught in reverse, or at least learn either the water walking or tree walking exercise first, and or various others before learning at the leaf balancing exercise at the very end. While learning, they traveled and took odd jobs. They also took the time to learn about each other. Ruka also managed to get Naruto to eat vegetables and fruit and other foods by not only cooking them but showing them they were supposed to taste. Since he never had anything other than rotten vegetables and fruits sold to him, it made him dislike them since he didn't know any better, and no one ever made him home-cooked meals for him. So he never actually ate them made correctly to see or taste the difference. Over time, Naruto began to fall for the woman who not only saved his life but taught him how to live it once more. While Naruto grew, so did Ruka's feelings towards him. Naruto was an idiot from circumstances rather than by choice. This led to his natural intelligence to shine once he was away from Konoha and had the proper tools to do so. The cruel reality that had shattered his hope made him more mature. While Naruto already had plenty of things occur throughout the years to make him so, it was his hope and dream that prevented the cynicism to come through, hence he didn't allow himself to mature. However, without those things and with his now allowed intelligence, Naruto began to turn into a man. He slowly gained back his happy personality without losing his maturity, and with his newfound sense of calm and patience, mixed with his intellect, he started to become someone great. These traits mixed with his old happy self made Ruka begin her descent into love. So a full year and 6 months after his banishment, he asked her out on a date. She quickly accepted. Then when he asked her to be his girlfriend, she didn't even hesitate before she said yes. As they traveled, they both learned from different people and masters of their fields. It was a full 3 years since he was banished, and Naruto had never been better. He trained, he fought, he spared, and he enjoyed. His life was fantastic, and he'd never been in love before Ruka. After 2 months of being with Ruka, he had figured out that his crush on Sakura had been a lie. He'd not ever felt so warm than when Ruka had gotten angry over how Sakura had treated him, when he offered her a date or gift, or even just a compliment. He knew that he would never find another girl like Ruka. She was angry at the village for how he was treated, didn't give a whit about the Kyuubi, and was completely apocalyptic over what happened with Sasuke and his resulting banishment. Yes, no one would ever compare to Ruka Osurabiki. That's why a year after their first date, a whole 3 years after being banished, Naruto proposed to the only woman he would ever love with everything he was. He never thought anything could compare to his joy and fulfillment when she said yes. One thing he learned about while traveling was his clan and their specialties, Fuinjutsu and Kenjutsu, or sealing and swordsmanship. He discovered not only that their sealing made them famous or that their swordsmanship made them truly deadly, but that all Uzumakis had massive chakra reserves and as a result made some amazing ninjutsu techniques that would potentially kill a normal person by attempted alone. He not only learned these things, however, He also improved his relation the QB better known as Kurama, who also approved of Ruka funnily enough. He also was overjoyed once more when 6 months after his proposal he was told that he was going to become a father. That then led to a freak out when discovering family traits. While Uzumaki's usually only have one child or more spaced out, Ruka's family, the Osurabiki, was known for having twins rather frequently. So after a minor freakout that he may be a father to 2 new children than one, he was happy. After finding out all his clan history and finishing their learnings from their teachers, they decided to travel to Ruka's home, Tsukigakure. During their travel home, Ruka decided that she wished to marry before giving birth, and it was already 6 months into her pregnancy even though she looked closer to 9. It was Kurama that told Naruto to expect 4 babies instead of the 1 or 2 they'd expected. As it turns out, Naruto had more kitsune traits than just whiskers. Due to Kurama being not only in tune with Naruto but with Naruto's internal anatomy having been constantly exposed to the Ninetales chakra, it altered him a bit. Kurama decided to not reverse the changes he accidentally made for laughs, and so Ruka was now expecting a litter. It was rather obviously made clear that neither Ruka or Naruto agreed that it was funny and had Kurama fix it. However, nothing could change the current amount, only future ones. Since Naruto didn't want to risk traveling through Fire Country or anywhere remotely close to Konoha, Ruka and Naruto traveled through Spring Country, and it was there that they held their wedding. A full 3.5 years after his banishment, he was married, having Koike performing and organizing the ceremony, including invites allowing them all to see their friends. Ruka and Naruto stayed in Spring until their little ones were born. A full 4th year into his banishment, and Naruto Uzumaki became a full-fledged father to 2 healthy boys and 2 tiny girls, perfect mixes of both parents. They named their children Ryu their dragon, Atsuko their warm child, Hikaru their light, and Miyu their beautiful moon. He had once believed nothing could ever make him feel like the day he proposed to his magnificent wife. He now knows that he was wrong. The birth of his children was even more joyous, and he felt the added weight of pride in both of them for creating such beautiful beings. It was with a dozy smile that his wife told him they were not having another for at least 5 years, while he had his hand healed by Kurama form when she shattered the bones in it. They waited until their children were a month old before continuing to travel their home. They arrived in Tsukigakure, where they were all greeted with warm smiles and congratulations. Naruto continued to expand his skills and knowledge, along with raising his children alongside his wife. It was on the 5th year of his banishment that Naruto mastered control with Kurama and the Ninetales chakra along with his chakra chains. And it was on his 6th year he was added in the bingo book as an S rank and gained the fox summoning contract. Naruto loves his life, and it was on the day he walked into Tsukigakure that Naruto Uzumaki said his final farewell to Konoha. Chapter 17 A Cherry Blossom's Freedom. Ruka looked at her husband in pride and condolence, knowing that such a choice was hard for him to make. No matter how much he loved Tsukigakure and Tsukigakure loved him, his heart always had a sport of Konoha and possibly always would. To decide to leave these people whom he tried so hard to love hurt him. Tsunade was just about to speak when there was knocking on the office door. After getting a nod from both Ruka and Naruto, Tsunade called for the person's entry. It was then Naruto's clone, Sakura, Kobayashi, the children, Saizo and Kijoro. When the clone dispelled in a small cloud of smoke, Ruka discreetly took Naruto's hand and held it gently in support and affection after seeing his small reaction. Ruka waited a moment before turning her gaze to her husband's sapphire orbs. In that small window of only a few seconds, Ruka and Naruto had a full conversation, and Ruka came to a decision that she hoped she wouldn't regret. When Naruto's warm hand squeezed her hand tightly, Ruka knew made her decision with her husband's full confidence. Lady Tsunade, why don't we make one more deal today? Ruka spoke to the Hokage with confidence in her voice and mischief in her eyes. Lady Tsunade just raised an eyebrow in response. The Osurabiki clan will provide you with supplies and if needed rebuilding, which we will supplement. However, in exchange, we the Osurabiki clan and Tsukigakure want an unattached Sakura Haruno to join our clan and village as a healer, stated Ruka, carefully picking her words and keeping a clear tone of voice. Ruka also kept her expression blank as to not broadcast any emotions or outside reasoning other than the specific reason she gave. This is where a large amount of delicacy had to come into play. Tsunade as Hokage had pretty much martial law over Konohagakure. There are some small exceptions though, and this may very well be towing over that very thin line. The issues of Sakura wanting to divorce Sasuke and Ruka conniving Tsunade to hand her to Tsukigakure may seem a simple matter of Hokage approval, but due to the founding laws and rules, it's not. What is never mentioned except for those who become Hokage is that other than the laws put in place by the first and his brother, a few rules were created for the future Hokages and governing bodies to prevent corrupt people taking too much power. This was slightly undermined by the previous council that used loopholes to get around the usual rules. It is due to these that the Hokage can't just divorce Sakura and Sasuke. Normally the lack of a child in a marriage arranged by the council for that very purpose would be enough. But due to the age of these old rules involving these matters, it is usually the wife who is blamed for the absence of a child, even if the woman is proven to be fertile like Sakura is. The viewpoint was simply the woman made no effort to try to conceive or even be blamed for her inability to make herself attractive to her husband. Something that Tsunade, Shizen, and or any doctor knows, of course, is simply not true. The laws are simply from a very old thought process that had only been proven false much later. Luckily for Sakura, her husband being a foolish bastard was actually helpful in her case. Since Sasuke is technically the head of the Uchiha clan, his choice to openly offer an Uchiha to Tsukigakure, and more specifically, propositioning the head of the Osurabiki clan, Sasuke Uchiha committed an honor slight against his own wife. Sakura, being from a civilian family, normally wouldn't gain much if anything from such a thing unless she had been physically harmed by Sasuke. But, Sakura having been an apprentice to the leader and only living descendant of one of the village creators, Sakura is viewed as Tsunade's legacy. Even if the teaching hadn't been done by Tsunade. Furthermore, unknown to Sasuke, but his words are also borderline treachery towards the Hokage and village. Had the offer been agreed to, the Leaf would have to honor it. However, the fact would remain that the offer he had made would have been against the Leaf's interests, so Sasuke would have been made to disown his child from the Uchiha clan, which could have been seen as a break in the agreement because Tsukigakure had been promised an Uchiha, and once disowned the child would not be an Uchiha. If that issue wouldn't have been enough, but another strong village would have the Sharingan, and if not disowned could rightly lay claim to Uchiha assets in Konoha, therefore allowing Tsukigakure to own half of the village land and rights. So due to Sasuke's rash and arrogant attempt, Tsunade can not only interfere in the Uchiha clan's internal issues but can also allow the dissolution of Sasuke and Sakura's marriage if it had not only produced a child. Additionally, if the marriage had never been consummated, there can be no call to revoke the annulment, and there will be absolutely no shame on Sakura or her family for the separation. The only complication in all this is that many may see this as the Hokage overstepping, and that could cause issues with punishing Sasuke because many of the clans will try to exert pressure for anything but what Tsunade would want, and to prevent her from attempting such with their own clans. In spite of all that, Lady Tsunade is fond of her apprentice and doesn't really care for politics, so reaching over that barrier won't be much of a nuisance. No, the true hurdle will be Sakura being transferred to Tsukigakure. In order for Sakura to come to Tsukigakure unattached, Sakura cannot be a ninja of Konoha. The problem with that is that Tsukigakure wants her as a healer, meaning all of Konoha's healing techniques could be stolen from them by Tsukigakure. Normally, Tsunade could simply state that Sakura was to be the permanent ambassador of the Leaf Village in Tsukigakure. However, despite not being enemies, they aren't allies, so having a permanent ambassador isn't necessary. Plus all the good personal reasons that Tsunade would allow the divorce to become problems here because she wouldn't want Sakura to leave. Thankfully, Ruka has always known the right things to say when it comes to emotion comes first people. She's married to one after all. Why should I allow Tsukigakure not only take one of my best healers but also ninja? Furthermore, even if I did consider it, she is married to a clan head that you have no doubt already banned from your village. Tsunade's face had gone completely serious. She may have wanted her apprentice's freedom from the Uchiha, but she doesn't want her leaving Konoha. Ruka continued to hold Naruto's hand. Before I continue, Lady Tsunade, why don't we ask your healer what she desires first? I think what she has to say will enlighten all of us. Ruka felt a bit bad for putting Sakura on the spot, but she knew Tsunade needed to hear the truth from her near apprentice, and no one else. Sakura? Tsunade had turned to the pink-haired woman, who once would have been her true apprentice had she not had Shizen train her instead. Everyone watched her try and gather her nerve to speak. Kijoro placed a hand on her shoulder for encouragement. Lady Tsunade, I would like to. Sakura's voice was clearly full of nervousness. She was stuttering and biting her lip when speaking, clearly trying to say something difficult. She took a deep breath with Kijoro rubbing her back. I want to. No need to divorce Sasuke. Her words came out in a rush and were nearly illegible. Tsunade blinked. She blinked slowly once, then twice, opened her mouth before closing it, her brain registering the words of the woman in front of her. Sakura, why do you want to divorce your husband, and are you certain this is the course of action you wish to take? Tsunade's face was iced over, nothing to hint away anything. Internally, however, Tsunade's Minimi was doing a dance for joy. Sakura nodded her head quickly and looked in between, reassured and exhausted. Lady Hokage, I am honestly miserable in my marriage to that man. I only married him because of the council and my mother, and I hate every damn minute of it. It has been nearly 7 years since we married and we still don't have any children, which is why we were made to marry, to begin with. I really don't want to stay married to him any longer than I need to. Sakura looked relieved to have the opportunity to say how she felt and get it off her chest. Everyone was surprised at how honest she actually was with how she felt. Sakura, is it just a lack of children that has led to this choice and unhappiness? Because that's something that takes time. I can't divorce you on just that, especially if you have consummated your marriage, stated Tsunade regretfully, and is mentally hoping someone has figured out a loophole for this. Sakura, however, simply looked determined. Lady Tsunade, It is not simply the lack of a child, and I don't think that time is something that'll fix that. It has been almost 7 years and we haven't even consummated our marriage. Unless you know how we could have a legitimate child with doing that, I'll be amazed. It was clear that Sakura had been holding this in for quite some time. Tsunade herself was in shock at the information, but it still wasn't grounds for a divorce. Divorce, especially with clans, is a big deal and requires to have certain specifications that have to be met in order to have one. Since both Sakura and Sasuke are capable of producing a child, the lack of actually having one after so long could have possibly worked. But with the marriage not actually consummated, it's not likely grantable, substantially due to the fact it was the council who paired them together for that purpose. Ruka, who knows exactly where Lady Tsunade's thoughts were going, decided it was time for her to speak up. Lady Hokage, if you remember correctly, a part of my clan's grievances with the clan head of the Uchiha clan was the disgusting proposition he made to myself. It was in regards to having his child in order to have an Uchiha within my clan so that I would help your village. Originally this offer disgusted me because he knew I was married and he implied that I should be honored by his offer because his clan was better than mine, within my own home and compound. Ruka showed her righteous anger on her face and in her voice, and Naruto looked ready to kill the bastard just from the retelling of it. Tsunade was wondering where Lady Ruka Osurabiki was going with this. What offended me most, however, was the fact he stated this while seated right next to his own wife. I did not know that he did not have a child at all though. So Lady Tsunade, do you feel that this stain on her honor is not enough to grant Lady Uchiha her divorce? He offered another woman not even connected to Konoha to birth his rightful heir while his childless and capable wife was sitting next to him, in a room full of witnesses. Some of which are your own ninja. Ruka explained carefully, picking her words and weaving in the emotions she honestly felt leak in at the right moment, and when she finished, she knew she had her. Lady Tsunade had already decided to grant the divorce before Ruka had even finished speaking. That is without a doubt more than enough to grant the divorce, and with clan head Uchiha's actions and words, Miss Haruno is in her rights to restitution. Let's make it half the clan's assets. After all, she was an Uchiha when he slighted her honor. But that doesn't simply mean I will simply hand her over. Will you give your reasons now? Lady Tsunade was positively giddy and wasn't even bothering to hide it. Of course, Lady Tsunade. My clan and village healer Zen is thinking about retiring soon, but has never had children of his own, nor does he currently have a student. He claims, and most agree, that he does not have the patience to teach the basics. However, Miss Haruno is extremely well versed in them and from what I've been told is incredibly intelligent and a natural at healing, making her able to pick things up quickly. I believe that she would make an ideal student to Zen. There's also no doubt in light of Miss Haruno's separation many would not react positively. This will protect her and give her a fantastic opportunity without any strings. Should Sakura Haruno wish to leave after her training is complete or any other time afterwards, then we will respect her wishes. The only thing we would require in the case of this event is her training her own replacement. Ruka spoke soundly, knowing that behind her Sakura was still surprised over her divorce being granted and the miniature fortune she gained. Now she's being told that she'll be apprenticed to a person who is considered the leading expert on healing next to Tsunade. Lady Tsunade herself was surprised by the offer and could not find a way to actually refuse it. Genuinely happy for the pink-haired woman, she smiled. Very well, you've convinced me. Sakura Haruno is now granted freedom of citizenship between Tsukigakure and Konoha. Sakura in her joy hugged Kobayashi and Kijoro, the children joining by hugging their legs, distracted from Saizo entertainment and seeing the already three-way hug. Tsunade smiled and Naruto laughed happily at everyone before Ruka settled everyone down so they could continue discussions. Now let's discuss Sasuke Uchiha's punishment. What if banished Naruto returned with his wife? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoyed this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel. And leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.